Chapter 476. Boom. After the battle of life and death in the divine bronze palace, Ling Xiao's physical strength was the same as before, but the power he unleashed was more than 10 times or even 100 times stronger than before. He Qingji's head exploded in an instant, along with his remaining flesh and blood. He turned into a bloody mist in the void. Arg! Little bastard, I'll kill you. I'll kill you. Amidst the bloody mist, a black shadow soared into the sky. It looked extremely illusory. It was He Qingji's martial Dao primordial spirit. At this moment, its eyes were filled with rage and hatred. It was completely deranged. He had never thought that Ling Xiao would destroy his physical body in one strike, leaving only his primordial spirit behind. Kill me. I'm afraid you're the one who's going to die. Ling Xiao sneered, but he did not hesitate at all. He struck out with his palm and black divine light gushed out. It seemed to have turned into strands of black runes. It carried the power of a storm that could destroy one's spiritual soul as it struck towards He Qingji. Moreover, in Ling Xiao's palm, there was an undetectable needle light hidden in it. It struck towards He Qingji's primordial spirit. Great soul-destroying skill. Soul-destroying needle. Soul-destroying thousand stars, kill. He Qingji roared angrily. His eyes were filled with viciousness. His primordial spirit gave off a dazzling light. The countless apertures on his body were like huge stars, shooting out sharp sword auras. A void storm, which contained a monstrous killing power, rushed toward Ling Xiao. He Qingji went completely berserk. With the thought of perishing together, he used the primordial spirit forbidden skill. Even if he died, he would kill Ling Xiao. Boom! The great soul-destroying skill struck He Qingji's primordial spirit. A destructive power spread out, causing He Qingji's primordial spirit to dim instantly. At the same time, the soul-destroying needle also entered He Qingji's primordial spirit. The deathly aura exploded, wanting to kill He Qingji completely. He Qingji did not dodge. He took the power of the great soul-destroying skill and the soul-destroying needle. After all, his primordial spirit was extremely powerful. It was close to the power of a sovereign, but it was not destroyed instantly. He Qingji charged towards Ling Xiao. The storm of his primordial spirit completely erupted, wanting to tear Ling Xiao to pieces. Wang! As if it felt threatened, the wordless heavenly book in Ling Xiao's sea of consciousness emitted a mysterious light and flew out. The gentle light fell down like tassels, and that terrifying primordial spirit storm actually vanished into nothingness instantly. No! He Qingji's voice was filled with monstrous resentment and unwillingness. The power of the great soul-destroying technique and the soul-destroying needle burst out in an instant, and his primordial spirit instantly exploded into nothingness. Rumble. The heaven and earth trembled as if there was a great earthquake. The primordial spirit of a half-step supreme being exploded. That unparalleled power swept out in all directions, scattering large amounts of primordial mist. This is a huge loss. Ling Xiao laughed bitterly. Not only did He Qingji's storage ring explode, even his primordial spirit was completely destroyed. Ling Xiao was still eyeing the divine ability stars in He Qingji's primordial spirit. Now, he didn't get anything. As the elder of Star Palace, He Qingji was a peerless expert who was half a step away from being a supreme martial artist. In his primordial spirit, there must be countless powerful superpowers. If he could devour it for his own use, it would be a great opportunity for Ling Xiao. Rumble. Just then, the divine bronze palace suddenly trembled. A blazing divine light soared into the sky, shaking the primordial void. The bronze door opened instantly, and countless ghost soldiers walked out of the divine bronze palace in an orderly manner. Virum. The huge bronze coffin slowly closed, and the bone dragon and bone phoenix gave out an ancient and mysterious aura. They pulled the huge bronze coffin, and under the escort of the ghost soldiers, they headed towards the depths of the primordial chaos. Ling Xiao wanted to follow and take a look. However, he could feel that there was a terrifying power in the depths of the primordial chaos, which made him feel a threat to his life. Rumble. The primordial mist became thicker, and the divine bronze palace in front of him started to be shrouded, gradually becoming blurry. The surrounding white mist was faintly discernible, and Ling Xiao realized that he had appeared in a very ordinary valley. Where is this? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. The surrounding environment was unfamiliar, and in front of him were towering sacred mountains, which were vast and majestic, giving out a desolate aura. After leaving the divine bronze palace, Ling Xiao seemed to have been transported to a faraway place. That is. Ling Xiao suddenly saw that in front of him, between a few mountains, there was a dazzling glow. Although it looked weak, there was a mysterious fluctuation. Ling Xiao's heart skipped a beat, and he flew into the distance. In a mysterious space. Countless sacred mountains were suspended in the air, and they were ancient and mysterious. Large stars circled around them, emitting dazzling starlight, making this place extremely mysterious. On many of the sacred mountains, towering ancient trees stood tall, and there were many old vines and spiritual herbs. It was like a sacred land, bathing in the starlight. On the most central suspended sacred mountain, which was like the center of the galaxy, surrounded by endless starlight, sat a young man in white. The young man looked to be about 15 or 16 years old, and he had a delicate face. However, there was a fluctuation of time around him. Every time he breathed in the essence of heaven and earth, the surrounding stars would flicker. His body seemed to contain a power that could make heaven and earth tremble. A middle-aged man in a silver starry robe slowly came before the old man, and he knelt down respectfully. Sect Master, Deacon Elder He Qingji is dead, and his soul has been scattered. The young man in white slowly opened his eyes, and there seemed to be an endless starry sky that was filled with vicissitudes and mysteries. He Qingji. The young man in white's voice was very calm, and there was a kind of indifference that did not care about anything. Buzz. There seemed to be a mysterious vortex flowing in his eyes, and he looked into the depths of the endless mountains. He saw He Qingji chasing after Ling Xiao, saw Ling Xiao enter the valley, saw the white fog, and saw the chaos. However, he was blocked by a mysterious force, and he could not see what was inside. Could it be that it is about to be born? It seems that the war is not far away. The young man in white's eyes rippled as he said slowly. After a while, an indifferent voice sounded. Let the purple star, North Star, 7 kills, Army Destroyer, and Voracious Wolf Star come out. It is time for them to train. At the same time, find out the cause of He Qingji's death. If you meet this young man, just kill him. A bright light flashed, and Ling Xiao's lifelike image appeared in the void. Yes. The middle-aged man respectfully took Ling Xiao's image and slowly retreated down the sacred mountain. In the era of great battles, the secrets of heaven have been revealed. In this era, I must step into the immortal realm. Chapter 477. This is. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. When he crossed a few mountains and arrived at the place where the divine light was surging, he realized that there was a mysterious small mountain in front of him. It was emitting a 5-colored light as if it was the place where the gods descended. Countless auspicious vapors rose from it. This was a 5-colored sacred mountain. The surroundings were extremely quiet. When Ling Xiao walked towards the 5-colored sacred mountain, he could even hear his own heartbeat clearly. It was as if all the sounds in the outside world had disappeared. Ling Xiao walked forward slowly. The 5-colored sacred mountain seemed to be growing bigger and bigger. In the end, it connected the heavens and the earth like a heavenly pillar. It was extremely terrifying. It's not the 5-colored sacred mountain that's growing bigger. It's the power of space. The 5-colored sacred mountain was originally hidden in an unknown space-time. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed with understanding. He felt that the aura of the surrounding void seemed to have changed. Buzz. The surrounding clouds were ethereal and emitted 5-colored light. There were exotic flowers and herbs on the sacred mountain that emitted a fragrant aura. A white jade staircase appeared in front of Ling Xiao. It meandered upwards like 9 layers of clouds. The destination was the end of the 5-colored sacred mountain. Rumble. It was as if there was a terrifying aura that caused Ling Xiao's body to tremble. It was as if there was an inexplicable power of law that suppressed everything. It was terrifying. Ling Xiao's body trembled as if he was about to be forced to kneel down. Moreover, there seemed to be a terrifying murderous intent on the 5-colored sacred mountain that targeted Ling Xiao. It was as if it wanted to destroy his soul. The fluctuation of the power of law was ethereal, mysterious, ancient, and vast. It carried the aura of a supreme being and a sense of immortality. This is the aura of a god. Could this be the path to the god realm? Ling Xiao's voice trembled as his eyes were filled with disbelief. 10,000 years ago, Ling Xiao was the #1 titled supreme being in the world. He was a peerless powerhouse who had touched the god realm. He had wanted to break through to the god realm countless times and ascend to the legendary eternal god realm. The aura and fluctuation left a deep impression on Ling Xiao. At this moment, Ling Xiao could feel the same energy and fluctuation on the 5-colored sacred mountain. Buzz. The wordless heavenly book emitted a mysterious fluctuation that slowly enveloped Ling Xiao. Suddenly, the oppressive feeling disappeared. Ling Xiao regained his freedom. Ling Xiao took his first step along the white jade stairs. Rumble. When Ling Xiao stood on the white jade steps, the heavens and the earth rumbled. Lightning flashed, and a mysterious starry sky appeared behind Ling Xiao. There was only the 5-colored divine mountain and the white jade steps that led to the 9 heavens. Other than that, the surroundings were empty and mysterious. Ling Xiao's gaze was solemn. The 5-colored divine mountain gave off an eternal ripple, which had already exceeded the scope of his understanding. When Ling Xiao took a step forward, he felt that every step he took was extremely difficult. The terrifying power of laws would descend with each step. If it were not for the power of the wordless heavenly book, this simple step would have crushed Ling Xiao into smithereens. It was very quiet all around. Ling Xiao slowly climbed up the stairs. Withered bones and broken weapons began to appear under his feet, bringing with them a kind of dilapidated aura. They're at least 100,000 years old, and they're at least supreme being experts. Ling Xiao's gaze trembled. He carefully examined the bones and weapons and realized that these skeletons were all earth-shattering figures when they were alive. Moreover, they were very old, so old that even the bones of supreme beings had lost their divinity. Even the supreme being weapons had turned into scrap metal. Ling Xiao became more and more suspicious. Could this 5-colored divine mountain really be the path to the god world? In front of him, a line of flamboyant words appeared on the mountain wall beside the stone steps. Below the words, there was a blood jade skeleton sitting cross-legged. The blood demon ancestor's path to the heavens is here. The great Tao doesn't tolerate it. What can be done? What can be done? Ling Xiao looked over and felt that this line of words seemed to contain a mysterious power. A mountain of corpses and a sea of blood rushed towards him. It was as if a peerless expert that dominated the world was stepping on a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood to break through to the supreme realm. The blood demon ancestor. Isn't that the titled supreme being from hundreds of thousands of years ago? It's said that he has already ascended to the god world. How did he die here? Ling Xiao's gaze trembled. The blood demon ancestor was said to be a giant of the demonic path. He killed countless people and was a titled supreme being from hundreds of thousands of years ago. He was a peerless expert. Although the blood-red skeleton in front of him still looked blood-red, it had already lost its divinity. It was as if it would be completely destroyed soon. The path to heaven. The path to heaven. Ling Xiao felt more and more that this white jade stone steps were strange. Although he wanted to turn around and go back, there was a thought in his heart that urged him to continue forward. I want to see what this path to heaven is. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. He gritted his teeth and continued forward. Not long after, Ling Xiao saw another line of words. The heavenly sword master ascends the path to heaven, sword slashes heaven and earth. A white skeleton sat cross-legged under the words. There was still an incomparably sharp sword aura emanating from it. It looked extremely terrifying. Another titled Supreme Being. Ling Xiao had heard of the heavenly sword master before. He was a titled Supreme Being more than 300,000 years ago. As he continued forward, the laws of the Great Tao became more and more terrifying. There was no substance, but there was a kind of power that could destroy everything. Ling Xiao felt that if he withdrew the power of the wordless heavenly book just like that, there would be nothing left of him. More and more words appeared in front of him. They were all earth-shattering figures from ancient times. The great wind cultivator ascends the path to heaven. His life ends here. The heavenly demon Supreme Being ascends the path to heaven. Hate. 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 The Lord of Massacre, slaughtering millions of lives. His life ends at the path to heaven. The Nine Suns Supreme Being, burning the heavens and refining the earth. His life ends here. Ling Xiao's gaze became more and more serious. The Great Wind Cultivator, the Heavenly Demon Supreme Being, the Lord of Massacre, and the others were all peerless figures from 100,000 years ago. They were all titled Supreme Beings. Only titled Supreme Beings could leave behind words on the stone walls of the five-colored sacred mountain. From those words, Ling Xiao could see the glory of these peerless characters back in the day. They were all outstanding talents of their generation, the proud sons of heaven. In the end, they all died in the five-colored sacred mountain. Other than their bones, nothing was left behind. Ling Xiao continued forward. When he was about to reach the top of the mountain, he found a total of 79 titled Supreme Beings' bones. They all died in silence with unwillingness. What exactly happened? Why didn't these people choose to go through the gods' tribulation and ascend to the realm of the gods? Why did they come here? Ling Xiao's gaze was extremely serious. There were countless doubts in his heart. The surroundings seemed to have turned into nothingness. He could vaguely see the top of the five-colored sacred mountain. There was a boundless chaos there, as if nothing existed. However, when Ling Xiao saw a line of words on the mountain wall in front of him, his body trembled and he staggered. I'm here. I still haven't seen you. I'll wait for you. I'll always wait for you, Jin Sei. Chapter 478. It's Jin Sei. Jin Sei has been here before. Ling Xiao's mind was filled with this thought. He looked at the line of words in a daze. Suddenly, Ling Xiao seemed to have thought of something. He abruptly looked down at the bottom of the stone wall, but it was empty. There was not a single corpse there. Jin Sei won't die. Jin Sei definitely won't die. Ling Xiao muttered to himself as if to strengthen his belief. There was no corpse there. Ling Xiao heaved a sigh of relief. Ling Xiao was even more curious about the origin of this five-colored sacred mountain. Even Jin Sei had been here before. Was the heavenly road really the heavenly road to the realm of the gods? Ling Xiao wanted to find out the secret behind this. It might be crucial for him to find Jin Sei. Ling Xiao slowly walked to the top of the five-colored sacred mountain. At the top of the mountain was a boundless void. It was as if nothing existed. The white jade steps seemed to be broken. A golden skeleton sat on the top of the mountain. It emitted a terrifying aura as if it had merged with the five-colored sacred mountain. It had a power that made the void tremble. Most importantly, Ling Xiao found that the divine substance on the skeleton had not disappeared. It looked like golden divine jade and flowed with a mysterious light. Next to the golden skeleton, there was a five-colored stone tablet. On the tablet, there were 10 ancient characters that were engraved in flamboyant calligraphy. Without the crimson dragon, the ages would be like a long night. The ancient characters exuded a fluctuation that looked down on the world. It made Ling Xiao vaguely feel like he saw a peerless expert standing at the peak of the heavens. Without the crimson dragon, the ages would be like a long night. What an arrogant tone. Ling Xiao sighed. There was a trace of doubt in his eyes. He could faintly feel that this golden skeleton seemed to be missing something. It had a very mysterious connection with Ling Xiao. Crimson Dragon. Crimson Dragon. Could it be the legendary Crimson Dragon War God? Ling Xiao's eyes widened. It was as if he had thought of a legend. The legendary Crimson Dragon War God was a peerless expert a million years ago. He was the most dazzling genius of that era. It was said that the Crimson Dragon War God started martial arts at 8. He became a Grandmaster at 12, a Diviner at 15, a Noble at 18, an Emperor at 20, a Supreme at 23, and a Supreme at 28. He became a titled Supreme and was given the title Crimson Dragon. At the age of 29, he had broken through the man-god barrier and reached the immortal realm. Legend has it that the Scarlet Dragon War God was the son of heaven. Whether it was the martial Tao, the Tao of alchemy, the Tao of blacksmiths, or the Tao of formations, he was a peerless genius in all of them. It was also said that the most mysterious War God temple in the War God continent had inherited the legacy of the Scarlet Dragon War God. This continent was called the War God continent, and this world was called the War God Great World. This was all because of the Scarlet Dragon War God. Could it be that the Scarlet Dragon War God also died here? Hasn't he already ascended to the God realm? Ling Xiao's eyes were filled with shock. 10,000 years ago, someone once compared Ling Xiao with the Scarlet Dragon War God, claiming that Ling Xiao was the most talented genius in the last million years. When Ling Xiao broke through to the supreme stage 10,000 years ago, he was not even 50 years old. Even when he became the #1 expert in the world, the heaven-devouring supreme, he was only 60 years old. However, Ling Xiao knew that his talent was still far from that of the Scarlet Dragon War God. To break through to the supreme stage before the age of 30, it could be said that even the reincarnation of a god couldn't do it, but the Scarlet Dragon War God did it. It could only be described as the return of the heavens. 10,000 years ago, there were very few people who could break through to the God realm. Almost all of them were just legends. From the ancient books, something seemed to have happened a million years ago. It was said that the path to the God realm was cut off, and the gods were separated forever. How could the remains of the Scarlet Dragon War God appear here? Ling Xiao thought to himself. According to the legends, the Scarlet Dragon War God was a member of the Dragon clan. However, what was left behind here was only the skeleton of a human. If this person was not the Scarlet Dragon War God, then who could it be? Ling Xiao stood on the top of the five-colored sacred mountain, surrounded by endless chaos, as if there was no concept of time and space. There was only a broken white jade staircase in front of him. The heavens road was cut off. Buzz! At this time, the wordless heavenly book in Ling Xiao's sea of consciousness trembled slightly and slowly flew out of Ling Xiao's sea of consciousness. It circled around the golden skeleton, sprinkling an incomparably soft light. The golden skeleton moved. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed, and he instantly took a few steps back, revealing a dignified look. From the golden skeleton, a bright light shot out, bright to the extreme, and instantly integrated into Ling Xiao's body. The speed was extremely fast, and Ling Xiao did not have the slightest strength to resist. Ling Xiao's eyes instantly became cold. He carefully checked his body and found that there was nothing strange at all, but Ling Xiao could be sure that there was something extra in his body. He just did not know whether it was good fortune or evil. After the golden skeleton shot out that light, Ling Xiao could see that it began to become a little dim, as if it had lost some divine substance. It would not be long before it became the same as the skeletons on the stairs. I can't stay here for long. Ling Xiao's eyes moved, and the power of the primordial spirit filled the air. He called back the wordless heavenly book and slowly walked down the mountain. Ling Xiao's speed was very fast, and it did not take long for him to reach the foot of the mountain. The moment he left the five-colored sacred mountain, the scenery around him changed, and he appeared in the valley again. He was still surrounded by towering mountains that reached into the clouds. However, in front of Ling Xiao's eyes, there was a wave of light that spread out like water ripples, and the five-colored sacred mountain slowly disappeared before Ling Xiao's eyes. Ling Xiao felt that it was extremely unreal, as if the scene in the five-colored sacred mountain was a dream. Perhaps the path to becoming a god still has many secrets that I do not understand. Ling Xiao's eyes revealed a trace of sharpness, and he turned around to leave the valley. Ling Xiao followed the desolate mountain range all the way to the south. However, the further south he went, the more Ling Xiao felt that the surrounding mountains and rocks were beginning to be contaminated with a mysterious aura, ancient and strange. Especially after Ling Xiao went over a huge mountain, his eyes suddenly opened up. It was an extremely vast plain, and there seemed to be an extremely mysterious cave in the ground, spewing out bright light. Rumble. Heaven and earth were boundless, and the land was vast. Endless yin and yang qi rose up, and it was accompanied by chaotic fog. A huge ancient mine connected heaven and earth, and countless mysterious substances were spewing out from the cave, landing in the surrounding mountains. This is the primitive ancient mine? Ling Xiao's eyes widened, and he finally recognized it. There were many mysterious places in the War God continent, and some were even called forbidden areas that Supreme Being experts did not dare to casually step foot in. 10,000 years ago, there were a total of 7 forbidden areas in the War God continent. Now, with the addition of the Reincarnation Sea, there were 8 forbidden areas. Among them, the primitive ancient mine was the most mysterious place among the 8 forbidden areas. The primitive ancient mine was mysterious and dangerous, and it occupied an extremely vast area. It was said that the primitive ancient mine had already existed when heaven and earth were created. The primitive ancient mine would spew out endless treasures, and it would also spew out powerful demonic beasts and monsters. Some people found supreme divine metals in the primitive ancient mine, and some people found natural treasures that contained the laws of the Great Tao. However, there were also people who were swept into the primitive ancient mine by terrifying storms, and it was unknown whether they were alive or dead. It was unknown how many Supreme Being experts had fallen in the primitive ancient mine. Within the range of the primitive ancient mine, there seemed to be a mysterious power of laws. Even Supreme Beings would be suppressed by the power of laws, and they might even be killed. This should only be the periphery of the primitive ancient mine. Fortunately, the bronze shrine did not send me to the core of the primitive ancient mine. If I woke up those fellows in the primitive ancient mine, I would be in deep trouble. Ling Xiao muttered to himself. Chapter 479. The primitive ancient mine was too mysterious. Even in Ling Xiao's previous life, he did not know much about the primitive ancient mine. Legend had it that the living beings in the primitive ancient mine might have existed since the beginning of the world. They were extremely terrifying. However, the living beings in the primitive ancient mine rarely appeared in the world and generally did not participate in the War God continent. However, they did not allow others to disturb them in the primitive ancient mine. Some reckless martial artists were greedy and sought treasures in the primitive ancient mine. Many of them met with misfortune and died unexpectedly. Ling Xiao's primordial spirit had transformed in the bronze divine palace. Now, in his eyes, the primitive ancient mine in front of him seemed to be intertwined with countless mysterious lines. Those were the laws entwined in the ancient mine. It looked like shackles, but also like a formation. Could it be that the living beings in the primitive ancient mine are imprisoned here and have no way to come out? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he guessed in his heart. In the sky above the primitive ancient mine, there seemed to be a vast starry sky, filled with chaos, the creation of the world, and endless storms. The scene was shocking. Here, Ling Xiao felt that his eyes seemed to be a little different. He could see some mysterious things. This is really a good place to cultivate the heavenly star divine eyes. Ling Xiao thought to himself. There seemed to be a silver beam shooting out from his eyes. The heavenly star divine eyes was a supreme ability that required one to gather the power of the stars in the heavens and refine the laws of heaven and earth, allowing one's eyes to possess some of the power of the heavenly Tao. Ling Xiao found that in the primitive ancient mine, his heavenly star divine eyes seemed to be tempered by the laws here. His cultivation improved by leaps and bounds. If I can successfully cultivate the heavenly star divine eyes here, it'll be a great opportunity. Ling Xiao sat down cross-legged on a mountain peak outside the primitive ancient mine. Buzz! 2 silver beams of light spread out. Ling Xiao circulated the cultivation method of the heavenly star divine eyes. The starlight above the void was drawn down, enveloping Ling Xiao's surroundings and slowly merging into his eyes. Moreover, the law lines that enveloped the primitive ancient mine were also trembling slightly. Strands of light spread out, containing some kind of Tao rhyme. Ling Xiao saw through it and then absorbed it. The heavenly star god's eye that Lu Guqin had left behind had already been refined into some sort of treasure. Ling Xiao did not intend to refine it directly, but instead decided to cultivate it from scratch. In his previous life, although the heavenly star god eyes was created by Ling Xiao did not cultivate it himself. It was simply too difficult to cultivate this divine ability. Ling Xiao did not expect that cultivating the heavenly star divine pupils inside the primeval ancient mine would actually yield twice the results with half the effort. Boom! Ling Xiao's eyes flickered with silver light. It was as if 2 beams of divine light were connecting the heavens and the earth. Endless starlight sprinkled down, making this place look like a treasure. It was extremely dazzling. Ling Xiao sat there for 3 days and 3 nights. In these 3 days, a bright star seemed to have appeared on the top of the mountain, drawing in the power of the stars in the sky and refining the power of laws contained in the primitive ancient mine. It made Ling Xiao's eyes become a little different, with some kind of indifferent and ethereal state. Whoosh! 3 days later, Ling Xiao took a deep breath. When he opened his eyes, it was as if 2 beams of silver light pierced through the void, majestic and mysterious. At this moment, in Ling Xiao's eyes, the lines of laws in the primitive ancient mine in front of him became clearer. Ling Xiao could even see the indescribable power of destiny in the unseen world. However, there was no joy in Ling Xiao's eyes. Instead, he frowned slightly. The cultivation of the heavenly star divine pupils has actually deviated from the idea I had when I first created this divine ability. It did not open up the third eye. Instead, it was reborn with the eyes as the foundation. Could it be because of the primitive ancient mine? Ling Xiao whispered to himself. However, he did not find anything wrong. The current heavenly star divine pupils might be able to become the primeval divine pupils. It had actually absorbed the primeval qi in the primitive ancient mine. Boom! The primitive ancient mine in front of him suddenly began to tremble violently. Endless bright divine light rushed into the sky, spewing out endless mysterious substances with some kind of mysterious power that swept in all directions. Among them, there was a divine stone that flowed with silver light. It looked to be the size of a fist, filled with mysterious mist, and flew toward Ling Xiao. This is really a stroke of good luck. There was a flash of light in Ling Xiao's eyes. Although the treasures that spewed out from the primitive ancient mine were extremely precious, ordinary people would not dare to enter it as it was easy to encounter a terrifying danger. However, the silver divine stone had spewed out further and it had already reached the periphery of the primitive ancient mine. Ling Xiao naturally did not hold back. He leaped over and grabbed the silver stone. Swoosh! Just then, Ling Xiao felt an air-piercing sound behind him. It was accompanied by a cold murderous intention that attacked the back of his head. There was a flash of cold light in Ling Xiao's eyes. He instantly performed the Great Shift super skill and his body disappeared from the spot. He appeared directly in front of the silver divine stone and grabbed it in his hand. Then, Ling Xiao saw that it was a black flying dagger that had attacked him. It contained an extremely sharp ray of light and it had directly shot a small hill in the distance and exploded it. Young man, hand over the silver stone in your hand. 3 young men in silver starry robes with strong auras flew over from afar and surrounded Ling Xiao. They looked at the silver divine stone in Ling Xiao's hand and their eyes were filled with greed. People from Star Palace? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he recognized the three young men. All of them were of level 3 noble realm cultivation, and they should be inner sect disciples of Star Palace. They had strong bodies and extraordinary temperaments. Their faces were filled with arrogance. "Young man, since you know that we are from Star Palace, why don't you hand over the silver stone in your hand?" one of the young men said indifferently. The silver divine stone in Ling Xiao's hand was the size of a human head. Although it was irregular, it was crystal clear and flawless. It emitted an extremely beautiful ray of light and pure star power. 100,000-year-old star essence is a supreme treasure that can be used to refine supreme weapons. I found this star essence first. Why should I hand it over to you? Ling Xiao smiled faintly and his expression was extremely calm. Why should we? Because we are disciples of Star Palace. The young man laughed coldly. Young man, with your strength, you don't deserve such a treasure. Is this enough? Why are you wasting time with him? Just kill him. The other young man looked impatient and there was a cold murderous intention in his eyes. The third young man originally wanted to say something but his eyes suddenly trembled. He revealed an extremely shocked expression and said, You are Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao. The other two young men shuddered, and they quickly took a closer look. You know me. Chapter 480. Ha ha ha. As expected, it's Ling Xiao. The sect has already said that if we capture Ling Xiao alive, we will be rewarded with a supreme divine power and a peerless doctrine weapon. Juniors, this is our luck. Capture him. A young man laughed out loud. Suddenly, there was a flash of cold light in his eyes as he shouted. The three disciples of Star Palace gave out an extremely strong aura at the same time. Boundless palm prints fell towards Ling Xiao. Star Palace wants to capture me. It seems that the news of He Qingji's death has been leaked. Ling Xiao thought to himself. He Qingji had chased after Ling Xiao and created such a huge commotion. Now that He Qingji was dead, it would be strange if Star Palace did not suspect Ling Xiao. Rumble. There was a flash of light in Ling Xiao's eyes and a terrifying dragon power spread around him. He threw a punch and a golden divine light exploded. It was as though he had transformed into a primordial real dragon in an instant. The three disciples of Star Palace were shocked. They instantly gave out a miserable cry and were sent flying by Ling Xiao's punch. Their arms exploded in the void and they coughed out blood continuously. Their eyes were filled with fear and disbelief. Tell me, why did Star Palace put a bounty on me? How many people did they send? There was a flash of light in Ling Xiao's eyes and a boundless and terrifying aura pressed down. The three disciples of Star Palace did not have any power to resist and they told him the truth very quickly. Just like what Ling Xiao had imagined, Star Palace really suspected him because of He Qingji's death. Ziwei, Gaochen, Qi Sha, Jun Pe, and Tan Lang, the 5 stars. What a boastful tone. Ling Xiao laughed coldly. He did not expect Star Palace to send the so-called 5 peerless geniuses instead of the old ones. Ziwei, Gaochen, Qi Sha, Jun Pe, and Tan Lang were all supreme stars. Especially Ziwei star, it was known as the master of 10,000 stars. There was no emperor star and it ruled the world. The 5 exceptional geniuses of Star Palace dared to use the 5 supreme stars as their names. Although it was arrogant, one could tell that the 5 exceptional geniuses were extraordinary. However, the 3 disciples of Star Palace did not know the cultivation levels of the 5 of them. They only knew that each of them was at least of LV9 noble realm and they had cultivated the Star Palace's supreme superpower. They had also cultivated the Soaring Star Sutra, the sect's most powerful divine skill. Ling Xiao, you better let us go obediently. The Starchild of the Greedy Wolf is in the primitive ancient mine. When he arrives, you will die without a doubt. A disciple from Star Palace said in a threatening manner. You dare to threaten me? You are courting death. A cold glint flashed in Ling Xiao's eyes, and a sharp light flashed in his hand. Immediately, 3 huge heads soared into the sky. Their primordial spirits were directly devoured by the sky-devouring golden lotus. The real swallowing fire spread and the corpses of the 3 disciples of Star Palace instantly turned into ashes. Ling Xiao flipped through the memories of the 3 people's souls, and a strange light appeared in his eyes. Heavenly God Convention. In the memories of the 3 disciples of Star Palace, Ling Xiao saw information related to the Heavenly God Convention. The ancient kingdom of Dragon had a piece of God's stone. It was said that it had existed for countless years and was left behind by the founding emperor of the kingdom of Dragon. There were also people who said that the God's stone flew out from the primitive ancient mine and was obtained by the founding emperor of the ancient kingdom of Dragon. The God's stone was extremely mysterious. It contained the God's light. Cultivating under the God's stone would allow one to comprehend the rules of heaven and improve one's cultivation level by leaps and bounds. There were even people who comprehended the supreme superpower in the God's stone. Now, the ancient kingdom of Dragon was willing to take out the God's stone and hold a Heavenly God Convention so that everyone could comprehend the secrets of the God's stone together. I have heard of the secrets of the God's stone 10,000 years ago. The old goat even wanted to steal the God's stone a few times. If he knew about the Heavenly God Convention, he would definitely go. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. He did not have any thoughts about the God's stone. However, when the time came, many sanctuaries and geniuses would gather. He should be able to find out the whereabouts of the old goat and the others. The Heavenly God Convention would be held in the capital of the ancient kingdom of Dragon, Heavenly God City. Heavenly God City was not only the capital of the ancient kingdom of Dragon, but also an incomparably mysterious city. Because it was very close to the primitive ancient mine, there were many strange ancient stones in Heavenly God City. Those ancient stones were obtained by adventurers from the primitive ancient mine. The ancient stones contained many rare treasures. Some were supreme divine metals, some were peerless spirit herbs, some were precious pills left behind from ancient times, and all sorts of mysterious treasures. That was why the most popular thing in Heavenly God City was stone gambling. Even a god would find it hard to tell what was inside those ancient stones. Even a god would find it hard to tell. Stone gambling was a gamble of luck, but it was also a test of one's vision. Heavenly God City is to the east of the primitive ancient mine. Let's go take a look. Ling Xiao made up his mind. He could find out the whereabouts of the old goat and the others in Heavenly God City. Moreover, there was a void transfer array in Heavenly God City. Going to Gemini Mountain from there was not a bad choice. This star essence. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. He felt that the star essence in his hand seemed to be contaminated with the aura of the primitive ancient mine, becoming extremely mysterious. Moreover, the star chi it emitted seemed to be absorbed by Ling Xiao's heavenly star god, slowly increasing its power. Currently, Ling Xiao had only cultivated the heavenly star god eye to the small perfection realm. He could use its probing abilities, but if he wanted it to contain the destructive divine light like Lu Guqin, he would still need a long time to polish it. Ling Xiao followed the periphery of the primitive ancient mine, heading toward Heavenly God City in the east. As he hurried, he absorbed the energy within the star essence and constantly comprehended the heavenly star god eye. Not long after Ling Xiao left, a resplendent stream of light fell from the sky, emitting incomparably powerful fluctuations. A silver star chariot appeared. It looked ancient and mysterious, flowing with a mysterious luster of runes. 9 silver flood dragons, each dozens of feet long, covered in incomparably sharp silver scales, exuding a powerful aura. These 9 silver flood dragons were all at the Demon King level. A man in a black robe, with a head full of silver hair, sat cross-legged on the chariot. He had a handsome face and his entire body was covered in a cold, murderous aura. When he opened his eyes, there seemed to be terrifying divine light shooting out. Around the star chariot, there were dozens of dignified young men and women. They were all wearing star robes and each of them had an extraordinary bearing. Senior brother Tan Lang, junior brother Chen and the others should have died here. A Star Palace disciple said respectfully. The man in a black robe sitting on the star chariot was one of the 5 great stars, Tan Lang's starchild. How dare you kill the disciples of Star Palace? I would like to see who dares to be so arrogant. Over there, go after him. Tan Lang's eyes flashed with stars and a cold light flashed. He pointed in the direction where Ling Xiao had gone and said coldly, "Yes." Chapter 481. After Ling Xiao had comprehended the greater teleportation technique from the secret teleportation technique, his speed had become extremely fast. He wasn't any slower than an Emperor realm expert. Even so, Ling Xiao still took almost a month to leave the area covered by the ancient mine. The mountainous terrain ahead was majestic. Numerous enormous mountain ranges rose steeply from the ground. Clouds and mist curled about, and immortal light pervaded the air. It seemed to have a bit more of a gorgeous aura, and a bit less of a desolate aura. The vast mountain range stretched for hundreds of thousands of miles. It was like a huge true dragon lying dormant on the ground. It was beautiful and mysterious. The Green Dragon Mountain Range. The Green Dragon Mountain Range was said to be the dragon vein of the ancient kingdom of Azure Dragon. It controlled the fortune of the ancient kingdom of Azure Dragon. Therefore, the ancient kingdom of Azure Dragon had been passed down for hundreds of thousands of years. The ancient kingdom of Azure Dragon wasn't much weaker than the top Martial Dao Holy Lands. After crossing the Green Dragon Mountain Range, he arrived at Heavenly God City. Ling Xiao stood in the air and looked around. Behind the Green Dragon Mountain Range was an incomparably vast plain. An ancient and majestic city sat on the ground, shrouded in bright light. It was like the palace of a celestial emperor, mysterious and vast. Heavenly God City. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. Heavenly God City had existed for hundreds of thousands of years. It had been strengthened by generations of experts of the ancient kingdom of Azure Dragon. It was covered in supreme seals and intertwined killing formations. It was incomparably terrifying. Even a supreme expert who dared to forcefully attack Heavenly God City would be killed by the terrifying formation. It was said that the reason Heavenly God City was so prosperous was greatly related to the Heavenly God Stone. The Heavenly God Stone was mysterious and unfathomable. It was very likely that it was a treasure of the God realm. It contained the mystery of becoming a god. Unfortunately, after so many years, no one had been able to understand the mysteries of the Heavenly God Stone. 10,000 years ago, Ling Xiao had wanted to take a look at the Heavenly God Stone. However, he and Supreme True Dragon had discovered the Scarlet Dragon War God's tomb first, so he hadn't seen the Heavenly God Stone. Outside Heavenly God City, ancient trees towered into the sky. Strange flowers and plants could be seen everywhere. Misty fog rose from the ground, making it look like a paradise. Heavenly God City was like spring all year round, untouched by wind, frost, and dust. Even the most ordinary flowers and plants were comparable to spiritual medicines, mysterious and unfathomable. A wide bluestone path led to Heavenly God City. Peach trees lined both sides of the path. At this moment, pink peach blossoms were blooming all over the trees. They swayed gently in the wind, and the fragrance of the flowers filled the air. It was extremely beautiful. 1,000 miles of peach trees, 1,000 miles of peach blossoms. Moreover, there was a strange fragrance that made people feel energetic. Ling Xiao landed on the bluestone path and slowly walked towards Heavenly God City. There were many figures along the way, and the majority of them were young geniuses with powerful cultivations. Each of them had a dignified appearance, an extraordinary bearing, and a heroic spirit. Ling Xiao guessed that these should be the participants of the Heavenly God Assembly. Rumble. The earth trembled slightly and dust billowed in the distance. A group of white-robed armored soldiers riding white dragon horses rushed over with a platinum-colored war chariot. The platinum-colored war chariot flickered with mysterious runes, and an ancient aura pervaded the air. In front of it were 8 majestic dragon horses pulling the chariot. Each dragon horse was more than 1 zhang tall and shrouded in a resplendent white light. Their bodies were covered in white dragon scales, and their blood and energy surged. They were all demonic king-level experts. It's the descendant of the Qi King Province's Jiang family. TSK, 8 demonic king-level dragon horses pulling the chariot. This person must be a core member of the Jiang family. That's right. The Jiang family's background is no weaker than the hidden ancient families of the martial Holy Lands. It's said that every 1,000 years, one of them will become a supreme being. Could this person be the Jiang family's heavenly sealed divine body? It's possible. I heard that the heavenly sealed divine body has cultivated 64 great divine abilities and condensed the divine sealed Dharma idol. I didn't expect him to come to the heavenly God assembly. Everyone was discussing spiritedly. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed. He could faintly make out a heroic young man on the war chariot. He was shrouded in a mysterious aura, as if a divine king had arrived. Boom! There seemed to be golden flames spreading in the void. 36 crimson divine birds shrouded in flames pulled a war chariot that rumbled across the sky. It was extremely imposing. It's the Sun Palace's saint. TSK, the Sun Palace's saint is also here. It seems that the Moon Palace and Star Palace's saintesses and star children are not far away. That's right. It's said that in ancient times, the Sun Palace, Moon Palace, and Star Palace used to be one holy land of the martial way. Later on, they split into 3, so the disciples of these 3 palaces often have conflicts with each other. This is going to be a good show. I wonder how many saints this is. The Sun Palace originally had 9 saints. I heard that a few months ago, the Sun Palace master personally took in a disciple who was called the 10th saint. He gathered 10 suns across the sky. Could this person be the mysterious 10th saint? Rumble. On the road to Heavenly God's city and in the sky, powerful geniuses constantly arrived. Some were driving ancient war chariots, some were riding divine beasts. Each of them had a dignified appearance and extraordinary bearing. There were even beautiful women who were a feast for the eyes. After the 1,000-mile peach forest was Heavenly God's city. The city walls of Heavenly God's city were thousands of feet tall. They were like ancient beasts, exuding a vast and mysterious aura. The city walls were hazy with chaotic colors and looked incomparably mottled. These were traces left behind by hundreds of thousands of years of time. The city gates of Heavenly God's city were like a giant dragon's head, exuding a vast and mysterious dragon might. It was very strange. Within Heavenly God's city, there were huge palaces, pavilions, restaurants, markets, treasured lands of the demon race, and temples. Sect masters could be seen everywhere. It was extremely lively, with countless people coming and going. After entering Heavenly God's city, Ling Xiao discovered many celestial realm and noble realm experts. There were even many emperor realm experts whose auras were extremely powerful. In the depths of Heavenly God's city, there was even a faint aura that made the heavens and earth tremble. It was obscure and mysterious. That was a supreme. On both sides of the wide street, there were many hawking voices. There were many precious weapons, pills, spiritual herbs, and other strange things on display. Of course, most of them were ancient stones of various shapes and sizes. These ancient stones exuded ancient and mysterious ripples. One could tell at a glance that they were extraordinary. But Ling Xiao knew that the auras of many of these ancient stones had been created. In reality, there was nothing inside these ancient stones. The streets were a mix of crooks and honest folk, especially the martial artists who set up the stalls. Almost all of them were one-time buyers, and they loved to scam those genius disciples who had just come out to temper themselves. Thus, if one wanted to pick up some scraps here, they would end up being suckers. Of course, there were a few people with extremely sharp eyes who could find true treasures in this trash, but these were the minority. After all, the people who mingled in the streets all had extremely sharp eyes. Sir, please wait. This poor Taoist sees that your forehead is dark and your eyes are dim. Your origin spirit is filled with death qi. In a few days, you will face a bloody calamity. An indifferent voice came from behind Ling Xiao. Chapter 482. Standing behind Ling Xiao was a middle-aged man in a Taoist robe. He had a jade-like face, eyes like stars, and 3 strands of beard fluttering in the wind. He held a horsetail whisk in his hand and looked like an immortal. One look at him and one would have a good impression of him. Ling Xiao was slightly stunned and could not help but blurt out, "Taoist Wu Yang. Ah, you recognize me?" The middle-aged Taoist's eyes flashed as he looked at Ling Xiao curiously. Cough cough. I've heard of your great name. Now that I've met you today, you're indeed extraordinarily handsome and admirable. Ling Xiao coughed softly, suppressed the shock in his heart, and smiled. However, Ling Xiao's heart was in turmoil. The middle-aged Taoist in front of him was an old friend of Ling Xiao's from his previous life. Taoist Wu Yang was an expert in physiognomy. He could check the weather, observe feng shui, and summon the wind and rain. He was said to be an expert in the 8 trigrams and could predict good fortune and bad luck, as well as the past and the future. He was extremely mysterious. However, Taoist Wu Yang's style was problematic. He often used the name of physiognomy to commit adultery. 10,000 years ago, many saintesses and princesses of the martial arts Holy Lands were impregnated by Taoist Wu Yang. However, they were all infatuated with him and would die for him. This guy looked elegant, but in reality, he was sanctimonious. He was a big pervert who swindled and cheated. There was nothing he would not do. That was why he was called Taoist Wu Yang. In Ling Xiao's previous life, Taoist Wu Yang was the public enemy of all young talents. He was an existence that everyone wanted to beat up wherever he went. However, Taoist Wu Yang was extremely talented. He had broken through to the supreme realm earlier than Ling Xiao. His strength was unfathomable. He could be said to be Ling Xiao's teacher and friend. The two of them were very close. Moreover, the old goat and Taoist Wu Yang had a good relationship. Both of them were evil. One liked to dig up the ancestral graves of the Holy Lands, while the other liked to steal the saintesses of the Holy Lands. They were like rats crossing the street. However, Taoist Wu Yang looked like he was only in his 30s, but he was already an expert of the imperial path. His foundation was very young, and this made Ling Xiao extremely shocked. Did this guy live a second life? Ling Xiao's heart was shaken, but he didn't show it on the surface. Since you know my name, then you should know my reputation. I don't read people's fortune easily. Today, I have a celestial lord talisman. I will only take 10,000 pure yang pills from you. As long as you swallow it with the rootless water, it will definitely resolve your bloody disaster within 3 days. Taoist Wu Yang had the look of an otherworldly expert. There was a faint smile on his face. With a flash of light, a yellow talisman paper appeared in his hand. There were mysterious runes on it, and it carried a trace of powerful Dao rhyme. Knowing Taoist Wu Yang's character, Ling Xiao naturally did not believe this fellow. However, he did not expose him. He smiled slightly and said, "Taoist priest, I don't have pure yang pills." "No pure yang pills? That's impossible, right? You're only 17 years old and yet you're already at the first level of the noble realm. You must be a genius from a sacred ground. What are you doing here in Heavenly God City without pure yang pills?" Taoist Wu Yang said as he sized up Ling Xiao. "Taoist priest, I really don't have any pure yang pills, so I won't be using your celestial lord talisman for now. However, if you don't mind, you can follow me for now. I'll give you the pure yang pills when I get them from my sect." Ling Xiao smiled. He had acknowledged his identity as a disciple of a sacred ground and was not in a hurry to meet Taoist Wu Yang. There were still many things that needed to be verified. After killing the ancestor of the Lu clan and a few disciples of the Stellar sect, Ling Xiao still had 10,000 pure yang pills in his hands. Taoist Wu Yang thought for a while and said, "That's good too. I've saved the dying and healed the injured. Since we're fated to meet today, I'll follow you for now. I wonder if you have any senior or junior sisters. I'm also good at retaining my looks. I'm unparalleled in the world. Ling Xiao saw that Taoist Wuliang was trying to curry favor with him and his eyes were shining. He knew that this fellow had not changed his nature. Ling Xiao held back his laughter and said, I do have many senior and junior sisters. They're all beautiful and talented. I'll introduce them to you later. That's great. Little brother, I'll definitely take care of your bloody calamity. Taoist Wuliang said in a righteous manner. Soon, he became familiar with Ling Xiao, putting his arm around Ling Xiao's shoulder and calling him brother. Ling Xiao was about to go to the precious treasure pavilion in Heavenly God's city to find out about the whereabouts of the old goat and the others. Just as Ling Xiao was passing through a street filled with street stalls, he saw a group of people gathered in front of a stall, pointing and gossiping. The stall owner was an old man whose teeth were about to fall out. There were dozens of ancient stones of different shapes in front of him. They looked black and ordinary. The old man sat there leisurely and did not speak. There was a signboard in front of him with a line of words written on it. 10,000 pure yang pills for one ancient stone. Each person is limited to one stone. Ling Xiao was slightly taken aback. 10,000 pure yang pills could only be exchanged for one ancient stone. This price was indeed a little shocking. One had to know that a single pure yang pill contained an enormous amount of pure yang spiritual energy. It was the energy that an emperor realm expert or even a supreme expert needed to cultivate. Pure yang spiritual energy was also known as the source of energy that was closest to the god realm. 10,000 pure yang pills could be exchanged for 100 million spiritual crystals. Ling Xiao looked at the surrounding stalls. The ancient stones were all priced at a few pure yang pills. 100 pure yang pills could buy 10,000 jin of ancient stones. The largest ancient stone in front of the old man did not exceed 10 jin. They were all the size of a fist, and yet they were priced at 10,000 pure yang pills. However, when Ling Xiao's gaze landed on the dozens of black ancient stones, he felt the wordless heavenly book in his sea of consciousness tremble slightly. Is there something strange about these ancient stones? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he walked over. I think this old man is crazy. Isn't that so? 10,000 pure yang pills for this broken stone. Even the precious treasure pavilion's heaven-grade ancient stones are not worth that much. Everyone, let's disperse. Who would buy these stones? Unless there's water in their brains. Hee, I really want to see who will be the spendthrift. The surrounding crowd discussed animatedly. Most of them were mocking and ridiculing. Some genius disciples were interested in these stones, but when they saw the price, they immediately turned and left. What a joke. Even if there were pure yang pills, it would not be wasted like this. A silver light flashed in Ling Xiao's eyes, but those ancient stones were enveloped in a layer of hazy light. Even Ling Xiao's heavenly star god I could not see what was inside. As the saying went, even the gods would find it difficult to cut an inch of jade. Before the ancient stones were cut open, even the gods might not be able to determine what was inside. However, those stones had attracted the attention of the wordless heavenly book. Ling Xiao knew that the wordless heavenly book's standards were extremely high. Even the king of spiritual herbs would find it difficult to attract the attention of the wordless heavenly book. Perhaps only supreme sacred herbs could cause the wordless heavenly book to react. Could it be that these black stones contain treasures comparable to supreme sacred herbs? If that was the case, Ling Xiao wanted to give it a try. Just as Ling Xiao's eyes shot out the silver light, the old man's turbid eyes also flashed with a trace of light, but he closed them again immediately. Ling Xiao squeezed into the crowd, squatted in front of the stall, and used his hands to touch those black ancient stones. Little brother, this old man is obviously lying. Don't be fooled. Someone kindly reminded him. Many thanks. I'm just taking a look. Ling Xiao smiled slightly. Those black ancient stones were cold to the touch, giving off an extremely uncomfortable feeling. When he tried to feel them carefully, he could not feel anything. Chapter 483. These dozens of ancient stones were all shrouded in black mist, making it difficult to detect if there were treasures hidden within. However, when Ling Xiao touched all the ancient stones, he found that only 3 of them could cause the wordless heavenly book to vibrate. The rest had no reaction. Among the 3 ancient stones, the wordless heavenly book was the most excited. If it were not for Ling Xiao's suppression, it would have escaped from his consciousness. Of course, it did not mean that the wordless heavenly book had no reaction. There was no treasure in the ancient stone. It was just that the wordless heavenly book's standards were too high. Only rare treasures could catch its eye. Sir, I want all 3 ancient stones. Can you make an exception for me? Ling Xiao smiled and picked out the 3 ancient stones that had reacted to the wordless heavenly book. Although this old man looked like half his body was about to be buried in the ground, and there were no fluctuations of cultivation on his body, Ling Xiao felt an inexplicable sense of danger. This could only mean that even Ling Xiao could not see through this old man's cultivation. Each person can only buy 1. The old man said lightly. Everyone was dumbfounded. They looked at Ling Xiao as if he was an idiot. Was there really a fool who wanted to buy these ancient stones? Little brother, although these ancient stones have a very strong Taoist rhyme, they have broken lines and black spots. These are all soul-breaking stones. They are useless stones. It is impossible to cut out treasures from them. You must be careful. A martial artist who knew the trade advised kindly. Although stone gambling depended on luck, many martial artists who were proficient in stone gambling had been immersed in it for countless years. Naturally, they had cultivated the fiery golden eyes and the ancient stone technique. They could roughly determine what kind of ancient stone could contain treasures. Thank you. I just want to buy 2 of them to play with. Ling Xiao said with a smile. Spending 10,000 pure yang elixirs to buy a soul-breaking stone to play with? Everyone was speechless. Ling Xiao was very young, but he was already at LV1 noble realm. They guessed that he was probably a disciple of some holy ground. They were envious and jealous. 10,000 pure yang elixirs was an astronomical figure to them, but it was nothing to the disciples of the holy ground. Senior, if I ask someone else to buy it for me? Ling Xiao asked softly. The old man looked at Ling Xiao with his cloudy eyes and nodded lightly. Ling Xiao immediately heaved a sigh of relief. It seemed that the old man's rule of 1 pure yang elixir per person was flexible. Little brother, are you really going to buy these soul-breaking stones? I'm proficient in physiognomy, but I can't see these stones. I advise you not to waste your money recklessly. How about 30,000 pure yang pills and 3 celestial venerable talismans? Daoist Wuliang looked at Ling Xiao as though he was looking at a fool. He even tried to persuade Ling Xiao out of kindness. Daoist, I don't have any pure yang pills with me. Can you lend me 30,000 pure yang pills? Ling Xiao looked at Daoist Wuliang and asked. You want to borrow my pure yang elixirs of me? Of you. Daoist Wuliang immediately took a step back vigilantly. He looked like a miser and was extremely stingy. By Ling of Wuliang, Wuliang's Taoist to Wuliang, Taoist Wooding of Heavens and Taoist Wuliang shuddered. He looked at Ling Xiao as if he had seen a ghost. Who are you? Lend me 30,000 pure yang elixirs first. I'll tell you later. Ling Xiao smiled. Taoist Wuliang was like the old goat. They were both misers. If he didn't give them some benefits, they wouldn't fall for it. All right. I'll lend you my coffin. But Taoist Wuliang's eyes revealed a trace of treachery. Later, when you cut open these 3 stones, if you find treasures, you have to share half of them with me. I don't want the 30,000 pure yang elixirs. Ling Xiao said, what if you don't find anything? Of course you have to return the 30,000 pure yang elixirs. Taoist Wuliang said matter-of-factly. All right, deal. Ling Xiao rolled his eyes and said. He was more and more convinced that Taoist Wu Yang had reincarnated. His greedy and lustful nature had not changed at all. In the end, Taoist Wu Yang carefully took out a storage bag and handed it to Ling Xiao. His face was full of pain. Ling Xiao took it and then looked at the old man who had kindly advised him. "Sir, can you help me make up the numbers and buy an ancient stone?" The old man's hair and beard were all white, and his face was rosy. He was wearing a brocade robe, and he looked like a rich man. He was cheerful. "Little brother, since you insist on buying, I won't persuade you anymore. However, you'll be disappointed if you spend 30,000 pure yang elixirs to buy 3 breaking soul stones." The old man sighed softly and nodded in agreement. Ling Xiao laughed in his heart. How could the wordless heavenly book be interested in something bad? The value of the 3 ancient stones would probably be more than 10 times higher. He handed the storage bag to the old stall owner and was about to take the 3 breaking soul stones. Swoosh! At that moment, a piercing sound was heard. It was a trace of invisible sword qi that contained unparalleled sharpness. If Ling Xiao had been an ordinary cultivator of the first level of the noble plane, his hand would have been chopped off by the sword qi. Ling Xiao's eyes turned cold. A ray of golden light exploded in his hand and instantly destroyed the shapeless sword qi. Then, he grabbed the 3 breaking soul stones. "Kid, put down the 3 breaking soul stones. I want them." A lazy voice rang out, carrying an attitude that would not allow anyone to defy it. The crowd parted and a young man in white holding a folding fan walked in with a few subordinates. Next to him was a black-robed old man with a sinister face. He exuded a chilling ghostly aura. The white-robed young man was very handsome. He was tall and slender, and his aura was powerful. He was already at the 9th level of the noble plane. His face was full of arrogance as he looked down at Ling Xiao with a commanding attitude. "Is that Nantian's sword, the 3rd young master of the Nantian family? Are these breaking soul stones that precious? Even Nantian's sword wants them." Like Precious Treasure Pavilion, the Nantian family started out by selling rare treasures. In recent years, they have shown signs of challenging Precious Treasure Pavilion. To the Nantian family, tens of thousands of pure yang elixirs are nothing. Maybe they're just playing around. This is going to be interesting. I wonder which clan this young man is from. Everyone's eyes lit up as they recognized the identity of the young man in white. Some of them were even gloating, hoping that Ling Xiao and Nantian's sword would fight. "Why should I? I've already bought these 3 ancient stones." Ling Xiao's eyes flashed coldly as he spoke plainly. Chapter 484. Ling Xiao wasn't even afraid of those hidden ancient clans, let alone a nouveau riche. "Why?" "Because I'm Nan Gongjian. Because this entire street belongs to my Nan Tian clan. Old man, I'll give you 30,000 pure yang pills. Who do you want to sell these 3 ancient stones to?" South Sky Sword sneered. His gaze casually fell on the stall owner as he spoke in a threatening manner. The stall owner didn't even look at Nan Gongjian as he said indifferently, "Those 3 ancient stones have already been sold. If you don't want to continue buying, then I'm going to close the stall." After he finished speaking, the old man stood up shakily. He unhurriedly put away the dozens of ancient stones and turned around to leave. "Bastard, you actually dared to offend our 3rd young master. Do you believe that we won't let you enter this street in the future?" Behind Nan Gongjian, a loyal henchman jumped up and pointed at the old man as he was about to curse. Slap! The black-robed man standing beside Nan Gongjian instantly slapped the henchman, causing all of his teeth to fly out. "You disgrace, scram!" A cold voice resounded as a trace of killing intent appeared in the black-robed man's sinister eyes. "Second uncle, this is..." Nan Gongjian's expression was slightly unsightly. He also wanted to curse the henchman, but in the end, his second uncle didn't look for trouble with the stall owner. Instead, he came to teach his own people a lesson. That old man isn't simple. Don't provoke him. The black-robed man looked deeply at the old man who left and said slowly. Ling Xiao also looked at the black-robed man with surprise. He seemed to be only at the monarch realm, but he was actually able to see that the old man wasn't simple. His eyesight was indeed extraordinary. Kid, I've changed my mind. This is a pure yang pill. Hand over the 3 ancient stones in your hand, or I'll break your legs. Nan Gongjian was very depressed. He immediately vented his anger on Ling Xiao as a pure yang pill appeared in his hand. He wanted to exchange for Ling Xiao's 3 ancient stones. Everyone was stunned. Nan Gongjian was really overbearing. He wanted to exchange a pure yang pill for the 3 ancient stones in Ling Xiao's hand. However, this young man's cultivation didn't seem to be high enough. He probably had no choice but to submit under Nan Gongjian's pressure. Idiot. Ling Xiao looked at Southern Sky Sword as if he was looking at an idiot. He spat out 2 words and turned to leave. This Nantian sword was truly a weirdo. It could be said that this was the first time Ling Xiao had ever seen such an arrogant and egotistical person. Yet, he still hadn't been beaten to death. He was probably relying on the reputation of the Nantian family. Ha ha ha. Little brother, the word idiot is too apt to describe you. Taoist Wu Yang laughed. The more he looked at Ling Xiao, the more he liked him. The crowd was stunned for a moment before bursting into laughter. This young man really had some character. He actually dared to scold Southern Sky Sword. Didn't he see that Southern Sky Sword's face was already as red as a pig's liver? Bastard! Nan Tianjian was about to go crazy from anger. This young man actually dared to scold him, Nan Gongjian. Nan Gongjian was born with a golden spoon in his mouth, and no one dared to disobey him. Southern Sky Sword's eyes were practically spitting out flames. He pointed at Ling Xiao and said, "Beat him up. Beat him up as hard as you can. If he dies, it's on me." When the lackeys behind Nan Gongjian heard this, they immediately pounced forward like wolves and tigers, wanting to attack. A cold light flashed in Ling Xiao's eyes. So what if he was from the Nantian family? Since Southern Sky Sword kept pestering him, he didn't mind killing him. Rumble. At that moment, the ground rumbled. A group of soldiers wearing Azure Dragon armor and riding Azure Dragon scale horses charged over. Their eyes were cold, and their auras were incomparably powerful. The leader was a valiant woman. Her figure was graceful, and she wore Azure Dragon scale armor that accentuated her curves. She seemed to be at the peak of the 9th level of the noble realm, and the soldiers behind her were at least celestial realm experts. It's the Azure Dragon Guards. Someone cried out in surprise. The Azure Dragon Guards were imposing and had already arrived in front of Ling Xiao and the others. During the Heavenly God Conference, anyone who dares to attack in Heavenly God City will be killed without mercy. The woman's voice was incomparably cold. It carried a decisive ruthlessness as it rang out in the void. Kill! 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 The Azure Dragon Guards behind the woman shouted 3 times at the same time. Their killing intent surged, and their eyes seemed to be intertwined with lightning. A terrifying aura swept out, causing everyone's expressions to change. Even Southern Sky Sword's expression changed slightly. Even though the Nantian family was very powerful, he didn't dare to offend the Azure Dragon Guards in Heavenly God City. Brat, consider yourself lucky today. If you have the guts, don't leave Heavenly God City. Southern Sky Sword glared hatefully at Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao laughed coldly, completely ignoring him. However, Ling Xiao suddenly felt that something was wrong. Beside him, Taoist Wu Yang was looking at the woman in Azure Dragon scale armor with a lustful gaze. The woman also saw Taoist Wu Yang. Her beautiful eyes were covered with a trace of frost as she said coldly, "What are you looking at? If you keep looking, I'll dig your eyeballs out." Taoist Wu Yang sighed softly and said, "Miss, you're as beautiful as a fairy. If you put on makeup and comb your hair, your beauty will be unparalleled. This cold armor really buries your peerless beauty." Ling Xiao's heart skipped a beat. Taoist Wu Yang really didn't change. He even dared to flirt with the leader of the Azure Dragon Guards. He could already see that the woman's gaze was getting colder and colder. Ling Xiao immediately smiled bitterly and said, "Miss, please don't blame him. My big brother has had a problem with his brain since he was young. He likes to talk nonsense. Please don't lower yourself to his level. I'll take him away now." Once he finished speaking, Ling Xiao pulled Taoist Wu Yang away without any explanation. Humph. The woman in Azure Dragon Scale armor snorted coldly. She retracted her murderous gaze, turned her horse around, and left with the Azure Dragon Guards. "Third young master, where are we going?" The lackeys behind Southern Sky Sword asked. "Follow that kid. Wherever he goes, we'll go." The more Southern Sky Sword thought about it, the more he couldn't swallow the anger in his heart. He pointed at Ling Xiao and said fiercely. Ling Xiao pulled Taoist Wu Yang forward. Taoist Wu Yang had a look of reluctance as he grumbled, "Little brother, why are you pulling me? Didn't you see that the lady has been subdued by my elegance and has secretly given her heart to me? You ruined my great marriage, so you have to compensate me with 50,000, no, 100,000 pure yang pills. Compensate your ass. If you don't leave now, I'm afraid that the lady will draw her sword and chop you into pieces." Ling Xiao rolled his eyes and said. "Impossible. I'm so elegant, handsome, and otherworldly. That girl must have already secretly given her heart to me. It's just that she's too shy to say it out loud. You don't understand, you don't understand." Taoist Wu Yang said with a look of pity. All right. That lady has secretly given her heart to you, okay? Let's find a place and cut those 3 ancient stones first." Ling Xiao smiled bitterly and shook his head. At the mention of the ancient stones, Taoist Wu Yang immediately became spirited. His eyes lit up as he said, "Now I really believe that there are treasures inside." Although Southern Sky Sword is shameless, arrogant, and despotic, his eyesight is not bad. Taoist Wu Yang didn't deliberately lower his voice. Southern Sky Sword's face instantly darkened. He gritted his teeth, wishing that he could kill Ling Xiao and Taoist Wu Yang immediately. "Where are we going?" Taoist Wu Yang asked impatiently. "Precious Treasure Pavilion." Ling Xiao glanced at Southern Sky Sword who was following behind him and said, "Precious Treasure Pavilion's hundreds of thousands of years of reputation can be trusted. It's not like Southern Sky Temple, which cheats and scams. It's simply a black shop." Chapter 485. Southern Sky Temple was a business of the Nantian family. Like the Precious Treasure Pavilion, it was spread all over the War God continent and brought a large amount of resources to the Nantian family. Although the Southern Sky Temple didn't have as long a history as the Precious Treasure Pavilion, its reputation was still trustworthy. Otherwise, it wouldn't have such a large business. "This bastard wants to go to the Precious Treasure Pavilion. Good. I want to see what he's up to." Southern Sky Sword gritted his teeth and said. Then, he led his lackeys and followed after them. In the south of Heavenly God City, there was a manor shrouded in sunlight. Ancient trees towered into the sky, and the spiritual energy was abundant. Exotic flowers bloomed everywhere, like a paradise. This was where the Precious Treasure Pavilion was located. The Precious Treasure Pavilion of Heavenly God City was one of the largest branches of the Precious Treasure Pavilion. There weren't many branches on the War God continent that could compare to it. Here, besides selling all sorts of treasures and elixirs, the most important thing was stone gambling. Stone gambling accounted for more than half of the Precious Treasure Pavilion's income. Every day, it brought in a large amount of money. Moreover, many of the ancient stones in the Precious Treasure Pavilion were brought out by adventurers from the depths of ancient mines. They were extremely precious and would often produce rare treasures that would shake the entire Heavenly God City. I heard that the stone garden in the Precious Treasure Pavilion is the best in the entire Heavenly God City. Today, we must broaden our horizons. That's right. It's best if we can find a rare treasure in one of the ancient stones. Then we'll be rich. Ling Xiao had just arrived at the precious treasure pavilion when he saw many young geniuses. They were all walking towards the precious treasure pavilion in groups. Their eyes were filled with anticipation. I heard that the Holy Maiden of the Moon Palace and the Holy Son of the Sun Palace will be here today. The women of the Moon Palace are all as beautiful as fairies. The Holy Maiden is even more beautiful. Looks like we're in for a treat today. That's right. I heard that the Holy Son of the Sun Palace is coming. He's the favorite disciple of the Sun Palace Master. I wonder how talented he is. The Moon Prefecture, the Sun Prefecture, and the Extreme Star Prefecture are the closest to Qing Prefecture. The geniuses of the Moon Palace and the Sun Palace are all here. I believe that the Star of the Star Palace will be here soon. That's right. Although not all of the 5 stars of Star Palace will come, there should be 2 or 3 stars. Apart from the 3 palaces, I heard that many hidden ancient clans, such as the Nantian family, the Jiang family, and even the princes and princesses of the ancient kingdom of Phoenix, the White Tiger, and the Black Tortoise are here. Hee, the Heavenly God Convention, I'm really looking forward to it. Ling Xiao's heart trembled. So many peerless geniuses had come for the Empyrean God's Stone. However, the Empyrean God's Stone was still hidden in the imperial city of the ancient kingdom of Azure Dragon. Ordinary people had no chance of seeing it. Is that the 3rd young master of the Nantian family? Someone with good eyesight immediately noticed Southern Sky Sword and the others behind Ling Xiao. 3rd young master actually came to the precious treasure pavilion. What a rare guest. I heard that the ancient stones of the Southern Sky Temple are not much inferior to the precious treasure pavilion. Immediately, many young geniuses went up to greet the South Sky Sword with great respect. The South Sky Sword responded with a smile, but in the end, it was escorted by the crowd into the precious treasure pavilion. Brother Southern Sky, why have you come to the precious treasure pavilion? Could it be that you want to gamble on stones? A young man with a head full of golden hair, a slender figure, golden eyes, and a single horn on his head asked. His eyes were filled with curiosity. Ling Xiao's eyes moved. This young man was actually a demon king of the Golden Rhino clan. He was already at the 6th heavenly layer of Demon King realm. This young master is just here to play. I met a big idiot on the way. He actually spent 30,000 pure yang pills to buy 3 soul-breaking stones. Do you think this person's head was kicked by a donkey? The South Sky Sword laughed while looking at Ling Xiao provocatively. 30,000 pure yang pills to buy 3 soul-breaking stones? This is really a big idiot. Does he have too many pure yang pills and nowhere to spend them? Everyone was stunned for a moment before bursting into laughter. It was impossible for the soul-breaking stone to contain any heaven and earth rare treasures. This was common knowledge, and many of the geniuses knew a thing or two about stone gambling. With 30,000 pure yang pills, one could go to the precious treasure pavilion's heaven-grade stone garden to choose an ancient stone. Who is that person? What an idiot. If he really has so many pure yang pills that he can't spend them all, I can help him out by kicking his head with my hooves and forcing him to hand over the pure yang pills. The young demon king of the Golden Rhino clan grinned. That's right. 3rd young master, did that guy come to the precious treasure pavilion? This big idiot is so rich. If we don't scam him, we will be letting him down. A handsome young man in a green robe said with a smile. He was a disciple of the 5 Elements sect. He was surrounded by a 5-colored divine light. Although the 5 Elements sect was not as powerful as those martial Dao Holy Lands, there were still half-step supreme being elders in the sect. They were very powerful. That's the kid. Did you see him? That Taoist beside him. Don't be fooled by his good looks. He is actually a fool. He actually dared to flirt with the 9th princess. He was almost killed by the 9th princess with her sword. The South Sky Sword glanced at Ling Xiao and Taoist Wu Yang and said. Everyone's mocking of Ling Xiao made him feel a little better. Are these two the big idiot and the second idiot that the third young master was talking about? He actually dared to flirt with the ninth princess. He's really lucky. He must be tired of living. The crowd sized up Ling Xiao and Taoist Wu Yang and mocked them. Especially Taoist Wu Yang. He looked as handsome as jade and had an extraordinary temperament. The horsetail whisk in his hand fluttered in the wind, making him look like an otherworldly expert. Anyone who looked at him could not help but feel ashamed of their inferiority. These young talents were all extremely arrogant. However, when they saw Taoist Wu Yang, they could not help but admit their inferiority. Therefore, they did not hold back and belittled Taoist Wu Yang without restraint. Is that girl in green armor the ninth princess of the ancient kingdom of Azure Dragon? What did I do to make the ninth princess fall for me? Looks like I can't reject the position of the prince consort. Taoist Wu Yang's eyes lit up as he muttered to himself. The ninth princess of the ancient kingdom of Azure Dragon was called Yuanwan. She was the favorite daughter of the human emperor of the ancient kingdom of Azure Dragon. Who would have thought that she would parade around with the Azure Dragon guards? Ling Xiao rolled his eyes and pretended that he did not hear what Taoist Wu Yang said. Ha ha ha. This Taoist is indeed a second idiot. He actually said that the ninth princess fell for him. He must have been kicked in the head by a donkey. Brother Jean, please give him 2 more hooves on his head. The crowd burst into laughter, their eyes full of mockery. Some even asked the young demon king of the Golden Rhino clan to give Taoist Wu Yang 2 more hooves. You're right. As the saying goes, birds of a feather flock together. The big idiot spent 30,000 pure yang pills to buy the soul stone. The second idiot lost his mind. These two are a perfect match. Both are idiots. Chapter 486. The young demon king of the Golden Rhino clan was originally a golden rhino. His body was very muscular and he laughed. His body was very strong. Although he was in human form, he did not change his ferocious nature. If he stomped down, an ordinary noble realm expert would probably have his head smashed. Idiot. Ling Xiao glanced at Southern Sky Sword from the corner of his eyes. Southern Sky Sword immediately flew into a rage. For some reason, Southern Sky Sword did not like Ling Xiao. He was easily angered by Ling Xiao. He jumped up and cursed, "Bastard, you are the idiot. Your whole family are idiots." Ling Xiao sneered, "Who are you calling an idiot?" Southern Sky Sword answered without thinking, "I'm calling you an idiot. You are indeed an idiot. You don't even have a brain." Ling Xiao sneered. Southern Sky Sword immediately realized that he had been tricked by Ling Xiao. He was so angry that his body trembled. His eyes were filled with anger and killing intent. "Kid, don't try to win a battle of words. Don't you like stone gambling? Do you have the guts to gamble with us?" The genius disciple of the 5 Elements sect rolled his eyes and sneered. Stone gambling? Ling Xiao was slightly stunned. These guys wanted to gamble with him? Yes, stone gambling. Do you dare? Southern Sky Sword said fiercely, "If you lose, you are an idiot." Clearly, Southern Sky Sword hated the word idiot and wanted to get back at Ling Xiao. "Don't tell me you are scared. If you are, kneel down and apologize. Say that you are an idiot. Then, give us 100 slaps and we will let you go." The young demon king of the Golden Rhino clan sneered. "Little brother, let's gamble with them. I will definitely win this group of trash and make them cry for their parents. Leave me all your clothes." Taoist Wu Yang rolled his eyes and chuckled. "Stone gambling? Sure, how do you want to gamble?" Ling Xiao said indifferently. Seeing that Ling Xiao had taken the bait, Southern Sky Sword's eyes immediately revealed a hint of success. He said, "We'll each choose 3 ancient stones and cut out the treasures. Whoever cuts out the most valuable treasure wins. If you win, not only will we give you all the treasures, we will also compensate you with 10 times the amount of pure yang pills. If you lose, the treasures will belong to us, and you will compensate us with 10 times the amount of pure yang pills. Do you dare? The Southern Sky Sword originally wanted to say 1 ancient stone, but it was afraid that Ling Xiao would get lucky, so it changed it to 3 ancient stones. This method of stone gambling was simple and straightforward, but Ling Xiao did not intend to let them off so easily. Ling Xiao laughed coldly and said, "No problem, but I want to add one more condition. The loser has to kneel down, kowtow, slap himself, and shout, 'I'm a big idiot,' 3 times. Do you dare?" Southern Sky Sword and the others were stunned. This kid was really ruthless. If Ling Xiao lost, it wouldn't matter if he scolded himself. However, if the Southern Sky Sword lost, it would be a huge joke. The entire Southern Sky family would probably become a laughing stock. A country bumpkin who would even buy a breaking soul stone, how could I lose? I'll bet with him. South Sky Sword thought to himself. He immediately agreed with a cold smile. All right, we'll bet with you. We'll all bet on young Master Nantian. Kid, don't regret it when you lose. Ha ha ha, we're going to earn 10,000 pure yang pills for free. This kid is really a child of wealth. Child of wealth? He's just a big idiot and a second idiot. They're going to cry later. The genius of the 5 Elements sect, the young monster king of the Golden Rhino tribe, and many other young talents all agreed with a mocking look on their faces. Words are no guarantee. All of you, make a heavenly oath. Ling Xiao laughed coldly. It was time to make these bastards bleed. What Ling Xiao lacked the most now was pure yang pills. If he wanted to break through from LV1 to LV9 of the noble realm, Ling Xiao estimated that even 1,000,000 pure yang pills might not be enough. It was a good opportunity to get some from these guys. Naturally, no one objected. Ling Xiao, the Southern Sky Sword, and the others all made a heavenly oath. There were a total of 24 people standing on the side of the Southern Sky Sword. In other words, if Ling Xiao lost, not only would the treasures he obtained go to the Southern Sky Sword, he would also have to pay out 250,000 pure yang pills. This was definitely a huge sum. It's the Yellowstone Garden. Kid, let's make a bet in the Yellowstone Garden. If it's the Black Stone Garden, Earth Stone Garden, or even the Sky Stone Garden, I'm afraid you won't even be able to afford the ancient stones. The Southern Sky Sword laughed coldly. The main reason was that the Southern Sky Sword felt that he had some confidence in the Yellowstone Garden. If it was the Black Stone Garden, then it would depend on his luck. He did not want to fail miserably. The Yellowstone Garden is fine too. Ling Xiao said indifferently. The stone gardens of the Precious Treasure Pavilion were divided into 4 grades: Heaven, Earth, Black, and Yellow. The Yellowstone Garden had the most ancient stones, and it was also the cheapest. Some stones only cost a few hundred pure yang pills to buy 1 ancient stone. The Sky Stone Garden was the most precious. The ancient stones there were sold by the kilogram. 1 kilogram of ancient stone would cost at least tens of thousands of pure yang pills. Even the genius disciples of the sacred grounds would not dare to casually sell them. They were all reserved for the old monsters. The Yellowstone Garden was very vast. It covered an area of dozens of miles. There were at least hundreds of thousands of ancient stones of different shapes placed on the stone platform. Some were black, some emitted golden light, some contained Tao intent, and some had unfathomable power. There were many intertwining auras, and it was incomparably mysterious. There were already many people choosing ancient stones in the Yellowstone Garden. When they heard that Ling Xiao was going to bet with the Southern Sky Sword, they immediately gathered around. This kid looks very unfamiliar. I wonder which sacred ground he is from. He dares to bet with the Southern Sky Sword. The calf is not afraid of the tiger. The Southern Sky family has a long history. They might not be able to make a decision on some of the precious ancient stones, but most of the ancient stones would have no treasures as long as they look at them. That's right. It looks like this kid is going to lose. Everyone was discussing animatedly. However, most of them were not optimistic about Ling Xiao. The time limit is the burning of an incense stick. Both sides will choose an ancient stone to decide the winner. The genius disciple of the Five Elements sect was called Zhang Yifan. He temporarily acted as the referee and lit up a stick of incense. The burning of an incense stick was about an hour. If one wanted to pick out a precious ancient stone in the Yellowstone Garden in an hour, it would be a test of one's vision and stone reading skills. Little brother, I still don't know your name. Taoist Wuliang asked. Little brother, Long Out Yen. Ling Xiao smiled and borrowed the name of his cheap cousin. Ling Xiao was going to use this stone gambling to make a name for himself. If the old goat and the others heard the name Long Out Yen, they would definitely know that it was Ling Xiao. Long Out Yen? What a good name. The dragon fights in the wild, and its arrogance soars to the sky. Little brother, you are not a fish in a pond. You will definitely soar to the sky in the future. Taoist Wuliang praised and said, there are 3 ancient stones. I will choose 2, and little brother, you choose 1. How about it? Sure. Ling Xiao said nonchalantly. Ling Xiao did not expect Taoist Wuliang to be so loyal. He was actually willing to get involved in this mess. However, Ling Xiao guessed that Taoist Wuliang was most likely tempted by the hundreds of thousands of pure yang pills. A small part of it was because he wanted to teach this group of arrogant guys a lesson. The ancient stones in the Yellowstone Garden were not very precious. Ling Xiao's heavenly star god eyes could see through the surface of the stones and faintly see whether there were treasures inside. Chapter 487. The Yellowstone Garden was surrounded by towering ancient trees and dense spirit energy. Ancient stones were displayed in the garden, emitting a mysterious fluctuation. Nantian's sword and the black-robed middle-aged man had already begun to pick the ancient stones. Everyone's attention was attracted to them, wanting to learn some secret techniques of stone gambling from the Nantian family. The black-robed middle-aged man walked straight to the center of the stone garden. There were a few ancient stones with the strongest Taoist rhythm there. They looked extremely huge. The surface of the stones was mottled and there were mysterious patterns on them. However, these ancient stones were born from the heaven and earth. It was very strange. Every time the black-robed man walked in front of an ancient stone, he would stop for a moment and then gently touch it with his palm. In the center of his palm, there was a purple mist, which shone together with the ancient stone. It was as if within the mist, one could see the things hidden within the ancient stone. Wang! The black-robed man looked very mysterious. His eyes were tightly shut as purple mist emitted from his palm. He was using his heart to feel the ancient stone. Brother Nantian, could this be the Nantian family's purple cloud's spiritual art? The genius disciple of the Five Elements sect revealed a trace of shock in his eyes as he slowly said. That's right, it should be the purple cloud's spiritual art. Rumor has it that when cultivated to the extreme, one can sense all things and explore the heaven and earth. It's mysterious and unfathomable. The young fiend king of the golden rhino race also sighed. He had also heard of this secret technique. You guys have good eyesight. This is indeed the purple cloud's spiritual art. Second uncle is proficient in the purple cloud's spiritual art. He has seen countless ancient stones in our Nantian house. Second uncle's purple cloud's spiritual art is among the best in our Nantian family. Nantian Sword smiled confidently. I heard that the first young master's purple cloud's spiritual art has been cultivated to perfection. Once the purple clouds are released, it can travel for 30,000 miles. Not only is its power unfathomable, it can also explore the heavens. If the first young master was here, I'm afraid first fool and second fool would lose even faster. Everyone was originally full of confidence in the Nantian family. At this moment, they believed that victory was already in their hands. It was as if the 10,000 pure yang pills were already in their hands. Someone mentioned the first young master of the Nantian family with eyes full of admiration. Nantian Sword's eyes also revealed a trace of admiration as he said, "My big brother is naturally a heavenly martial prodigy. He is one of the top geniuses of the war god continent. His purple cloud's spiritual art is naturally the strongest in my Nantian Sword. However, there's no need to use a sledgehammer to kill a chicken. Second uncle is enough to deal with these two idiots. So. Ha ha ha. We have to thank the third young master. If it wasn't for him, how could we win 10,000 pure yang pills?" Everyone walked around the three ancient stones. Although they didn't understand, they could feel that these three ancient stones were extraordinary. They were surrounded by a mysterious Tao intent. The young geniuses who participated in the stone gambling laughed heartily. Their eyes were filled with excitement. 10,000 pure yang pills was not a small amount to them. Look at that big idiot. He actually walked towards the soul-breaking stone. Ha ha ha. I'm dying of laughter. Someone exclaimed and pointed at Ling Xiao. They saw that Ling Xiao and Daoist Wuyang didn't walk to the center of the stone garden. Instead, they walked in front of a pile of black stones. Everyone recognized this pile of black stones. They were soul-breaking stones. Normally, they were just scraps of ancient stones. It was impossible to cut them into treasures. Ling Xiao knew that Daoist Wuyang's physiognomy technique was indeed extraordinary. Perhaps Daoist Wuyang couldn't cut those precious ancient stones. However, the ancient stones in the stone garden were not difficult for Daoist Wuyang. He had already chosen two ancient stones in the stone garden. One of them was only the size of a fist, while the other was as tall as a person. It was a faint yellow color, as if it was emitting a golden light. It was very extraordinary. These two ancient stones were worth 8,000 pure yang pills. Ling Xiao strolled around as if nothing had happened. Under the effect of the heavenly star god eye, the ancient stones in the stone garden faintly emitted a mysterious light. Some were strong, some were weak. It allowed Ling Xiao to see the fluctuations of spiritual energy and the strength of Tao aura within the ancient stones. Originally, Ling Xiao had already chosen an ancient stone. However, the wordless heavenly book began to tremble. The source of the trembling was this pile of soul-breaking stones. Ling Xiao looked through the pile of soul-breaking stones and finally saw the ancient stone in front of him. It was jet black and looked like a large millstone. Not only did it have soul-breaking marks, but it was also cracked all over. There were also black spots on it like a honeycomb. It looked extremely ordinary. Compared to the ancient stones chosen by the black-robed middle-aged man and Daoist Wuyang, this ancient stone did not have any fluctuations. Even Ling Xiao's heavenly star god eye could not see anything special. If it were not for the fact that the wordless heavenly book clearly indicated that this ancient stone was not ordinary, Ling Xiao might have chosen it. I say, little brother, why did you choose another soul-breaking stone? If we lose, the pure yang pills are a small matter. I will not kneel down and apologize. If you dare to cheat me, I will fight you to the death. Daoist Wuyang's face turned ugly. He looked at Ling Xiao with an unfriendly gaze. There were so many ancient stones in the stone garden, but Ling Xiao had chosen a soul-breaking stone. Don't worry, Daoist Wuyang. We will not lose. There are good treasures in this ancient stone. Ling Xiao smiled. Looking at Ling Xiao's confident look, Daoist Wuyang did not know why he chose to believe him. You better do as you say. Otherwise, I will not forgive you. Daoist Wuyang said fiercely. Daoist Wuyang, what are you nervous about? Although there are 3 ancient herbs in the 3 ancient stones, their quality is not very good. Don't worry, we will win. Ling Xiao said confidently. You can see the things in the 3 ancient stones? Daoist Wuyang looked as if he had seen a ghost. He looked at Ling Xiao from head to toe and suddenly realized that he could not see through this young man. Time's up. The voice of the young genius from Five Elements sect sounded. He looked at Ling Xiao and Daoist Wuliang expressionlessly and said, "Have you chosen your ancient stones?" "Yes, these are the 3 stones." Ling Xiao put the black millstone together with Taoist Wuliang's 2 ancient stones and said with a smile. "Ha ha ha. Soul-breaking stone again. I say, boy, are you so poor that you don't have any pure yang pills?" I'm dying of laughter. Just now, when third young master and I were on the street outside, we saw this kid spend 30,000 pure yang pills to buy 3 soul-breaking stones. This kid is really a big idiot. There is no need to compete. There are no treasures in the soul-breaking stones. They will lose for sure. That fool is not that stupid, is he? The 2 ancient stones he chose look good. Chapter 488. A bunch of ignorant fools. This ancient stone of mine contains a treasure on the same level as a supreme elixir. You'll be shocked to death when you cut it out. Ling Xiao glanced at them and sneered. Supreme elixir? Pfft. If you can cut out a treasure, I'll eat this soul-breaking stone. South Sky Sword sneered, his eyes filled with disdain. Eat the soul-breaking stone. That's a good idea. Why don't we increase the stakes? If we win, you'll eat this soul-breaking stone. How about it? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he chuckled. Southern Sky Sword did not back down and said, "Do you think I'm afraid of you? If you lose, you'll have to eat the soul-breaking stone too." Deal. Ling Xiao chuckled. The soul-breaking stone was incomparably hard, comparable to a treasure. Southern Sky Sword might not be able to chew it even if he broke his teeth. After that, Ling Xiao and Southern Sky Sword swore the heavenly oath. Kid, you'll eat this soul-breaking stone for sure. Later, not only will you have to kneel down and call yourself a fool, but you'll also have to chew the soul-breaking stone. This is the price you have to pay for provoking my Southern Sky family. Southern Sky Sword sneered. Cut the crap. Since the ancient stone has been chosen, let's cut it open. Ling Xiao could not be bothered with him and directly requested to cut the ancient stone. Cutting the ancient stone was also a technical job. It required a special stone cutter and a special knife cutting technique. Those knives were all treasures of the Dao artifact level. It was not an easy task to completely remove the treasures within the ancient stone. Especially many supreme elixirs from the ancient times. They were hidden within the ancient stone and were very fragile. If one used too much force, it was very likely that the elixir would be destroyed. Southern Sky Sword had already found a stone cutter. With a wave of his hand, the stone cutter walked towards the ancient stone. Kid, don't tell me you can't even afford to hire a stone cutter. Do you want me to hire one for you? Southern Sky Sword glanced at Ling Xiao and realized that Ling Xiao had no intention of cutting the stone, so he mocked. I'm afraid that when we cut out the ancient stone, you'll be scared to death. I'll cut yours first. Ling Xiao sneered. Since you're not giving up, I'll fulfill your wish. South Sky Sword was in high spirits. He felt that he had already won. The thought of Ling Xiao's dumbfounded expression, kneeling on the ground and slapping his face, looking like an idiot, and even wanting to gnaw on the soul-breaking stone made him feel extremely satisfied. Wang! The stone-cutting man was a burly man with bronze skin all over his body. His muscles were well developed, and his blood energy was exuberant. A curved blade appeared in his hand. It was like a full moon, emitting a mysterious light and incomparably clear. In the hands of the stone cutter, the ancient stone that was the size of a human head seemed to be skinned. Under the effect of the scimitar, the stone skin fluttered and slowly began to peel off the things inside. The stone cutter's technique was very proficient. Not long after, a cyan light began to emanate from the ancient stone. Moreover, the light became more and more intense. Moreover, a mysterious fragrance began to pervade the air. Green light and fragrance. Could it be that there is a supreme treasure medicine in this ancient stone? Someone's body trembled, and his eyes revealed an extremely excited look. The Nantian family's purple aura psychic technique is indeed extraordinary. They managed to obtain a supreme treasure the moment they cut it out. I wonder what level of treasure it is. If it's a saint medicine, the entire heavenly god city will probably be shaken. Everyone in the stone garden was alarmed. Their faces were filled with anticipation. They surrounded the stone cutter, wanting to see what kind of treasure would be cut out. The stone cutter's technique was very proficient. Towards the end, he began to slow down. Moreover, beads of sweat began to appear on his forehead. He was extremely focused, and the scimitar in his hand was incomparably stable. Finally, when all the stone skin was peeled off, a cyan flower appeared before everyone's eyes. The cyan light was blazing, an auspicious chi pervaded the air. The fragrance assailed everyone's nostrils, and their eyes were filled with amazement. The cyan flower was surrounded by 5 colored clouds. It looked extremely mysterious. This is the 5-colored illusion flower. The legendary supreme treasure that can increase the power of the primordial spirit and aid in breaking through to the next level? That's right, it's the 5-colored illusion flower. Unfortunately, it's not the 7-colored illusion flower. The 5-colored illusion flower is only a king medicine, while the 7-colored illusion flower is a supreme saint medicine. It's extremely useful for those at the peak of the imperial Dao realm. The 5-colored illusion flower is also very impressive. However, it seems to be slightly damaged. Moreover, after being sealed for so many years, its medicinal efficacy has also decreased. I'm afraid it's only worth 50,000 pure yang pills. Everyone was discussing. Someone recognized the origin of this flower. It was the legendary 5-colored illusion flower. However, 1/3 of the flower was damaged, and the medicinal fragrance was not as pure. Therefore, its value was not very high. 50,000 pure yang pills is also very impressive. This ancient stone has less than 5,000 pure yang pills, but it's worth 10 times more. As expected of the Nantian family. The young genius of the 5 elements sect flattered Nantian's sword with a flattering smile on his face. Nantian's sword's eyes were filled with regret, but he was also extremely excited. He glanced at Ling Xiao and Daoist Wuliang proudly. "Third young master, I'll pay 50,000 pure yang pills. Sell it to me. I'll pay 60,000 pure yang pills. 70,000. Although this 5-colored illusion flower is a little damaged, it's still very useful for breaking through from the peak of the noble realm to the monarch realm. Everyone was extremely envious. They began to bid against each other, wanting to buy the 5-colored illusion flower. Everyone, this 5-colored illusion flower will not be sold for now because it's related to the bet between me and this kid. Let's talk about it after all 3 ancient stones are cut out." Nantian's sword cleared his throat and said in a clear voice. "Betting stones with the 3rd young master. Is this kid out of his mind?" "That's right. I'm afraid this kid will even lose his underwear." Everyone was stunned. Then, they sneered at Ling Xiao and Daoist Wuliang. "It's just a damaged 5-colored illusion flower. You're treating it as a treasure. How ignorant. You'll be shocked to death when I cut out the ancient stones." Daoist Wuliang sneered. "Don't talk nonsense with him. Continue." Nantian's sword sneered and said to the person cutting the stone. The person cutting the stone walked towards the 2nd ancient stone. The 2nd ancient stone was also the size of a human head. Soon, the treasure inside was cut out. It was a piece of azure copper. It was a supreme treasure used to refine top-grade Dao artifacts. Although it couldn't compare to the 5-colored illusion flower, it was still worth 30,000 pure yang pills. The last ancient stone was the one that everyone was looking forward to the most. This ancient stone weighed at least a few thousand kilograms. It looked like a ferocious beast and emitted a terrifying aura. The person cutting the stone took 4 hours to peel off most of the stone. Finally, at the core, a dazzling golden light was revealed. Strands of divine chains of order intertwined with each other. It was like the laws of the great Tao. It was extremely beautiful. Boom! Above the void, there seemed to be thunder and lightning. Dark clouds rolled as if a lightning tribulation was about to descend. It contained an extremely terrifying power. Above the ancient stone, a faint shadow appeared. It was a dazzling golden pill. It was the size of a baby's fist. It was round and simple, and it emitted a power that made the heavens and earth tremble. It's a pill. The fluctuation of the laws and the power. It's definitely a supreme pill. An old man with white hair and beard exclaimed in surprise. His eyes were filled with incomparable excitement. What? Chapter 489. Anything that was related to a supreme being was a rare treasure of the world. It was a supreme treasure that contained a vast amount of power. It had the power to create a supreme fortune. The supreme pill was beyond the level of Tao pill. Only a supreme pill could refine it. One must know that the number of supreme pill in the entire war god continent could be counted with 2 hands. The refining of the supreme pill was incomparably difficult, but every time a supreme pill appeared, it was incomparably precious. It was absolutely unimaginable that a supreme pill could be found in the Yellowstone garden. Boom! When the last layer of stone was peeled off, a golden light suddenly shot up into the sky. The lightning in the sky also fell, completely enveloping the golden pill. The black-robed middle-aged man seemed to have expected this. With a wave of his sleeve, a powerful boundary enveloped the entire stone garden, preventing the supreme pill from escaping. Rumble. The lightning blazed, and the laws of the world filled the void. Tao intent intertwined. The golden pill bobbed up and down, receiving the refinement of the lightning of heaven and earth. Everyone's eyes were filled with anticipation and nervousness. They were afraid that the supreme pill would be destroyed in the lightning tribulation. It's over, it's over. This bastard actually found a supreme pill. Little brother, I'm in deep trouble because of you. Forget about the 5-colored illusionary flower and Qingsha copper. This supreme pill is worth at least 200,000 pure yang pills. It can't be compared at all. Let's run. Daoist Wu Yang's face instantly became incomparably ugly. His eyes darted around, wanting to escape. Idiot, are you trying to run away? With your grandpa Ox here, you can't run anywhere. The young demon king of the Golden Rhino clan had sharp eyes. He instantly discovered Daoist Wu Yang's thoughts and shouted loudly. I'll run. Fuck your second uncle. The treasures in these 2 ancient stones are priceless. They're much better than this supreme pill. Daoist Wu Yang jumped up as if his tail had been stepped on. He cursed the young demon king with spittle flying everywhere. He almost rolled up his sleeves and fought with the young demon king. Hee, keep an eye on them for me. If these 2 fools don't fulfill the bet today, we'll sell them to the chrysanthemum garden. I believe that many old women and men will like them very much. South Sky Sword sneered and waved his sleeve. Immediately, many young talents surrounded Ling Xiao and Daoist Wu Yang. Chrysanthemum Garden. The faces of Ling Xiao and Daoist Wu Yang instantly turned unsightly. The Chrysanthemum Garden was one of Heavenly God City's most popular places. Many old women and old demonic women who were not satisfied with their desires liked to pick some strong young men from there. Male martial artists who were interested in homosexuality would also frequently go there. If they were really sold to the Chrysanthemum Garden, it would be worse than death. Don't worry, Taoist priest. The value of the treasure in this ancient stone far surpasses that of a supreme pill. Just you wait. Ling Xiao smiled and comforted Daoist Wu Yang. I hope so. Daoist Wu Yang said dejectedly. Obviously, he did not have much hope. Rumble. After the supreme pill in the void absorbed the lightning tribulation, it finally made it through and turned into a dazzling golden pill. It was gorgeous and flawless, emitting a mysterious fluctuation of laws. There's a supreme pill in it. Where's the supreme pill? A supreme pill in a yellow grade stone garden. This is too rare. After hearing the news of the supreme pill being cut out from the yellow grade stone garden, many old monsters immediately rushed into the yellow grade stone garden. I hope it's a supreme pill that can cultivate divine force. It's worth at least 1,000,000 pure yang pills. Moreover, it's priceless. A white-haired old man wearing a black robe of the Precious Treasure Pavilion said. He was the great elder of the Precious Treasure Pavilion. He was already a half-step supreme being expert. His eyes were filled with excitement. In the War God continent, many people were stuck at the half-step supreme being realm. It could be said that not even 1 out of 1,000 half-step supreme beings could break through to the supreme being realm. The supreme being was the supreme realm of the martial Tao. They were revered under the heavens and could sweep through the 8 wastelands. Although a half-step supreme being was very strong, far surpassing emperors, they were only slightly bigger ants in front of a supreme being. The most difficult part of becoming a supreme being was cultivating divine force. However, this step was too illusory and difficult to grasp. Many half-step supreme beings were stuck at this step for thousands of years and could only turn into dust in the end. Jian, I heard you were the one who opened the supreme pill. You've really done a great service for the Nantian clan. Come, let me take a look. A wizened old man in a purple robe with almost all of his teeth falling out said with a satisfied expression. Uncle, look. Nantian's sword handed the supreme pill to the old man in a purple robe with a proud expression. Although the old man in a purple robe only seemed to be a 9th-level emperor, he was one of the old antiques of the Nantian clan. He had lived for thousands of years and was originally a half-step supreme being. However, as he aged, his chi and blood declined and his cultivation fell. The old man in a purple robe took the supreme pill and carefully sensed it. Instantly, his eyes were filled with disappointment. It's not a supreme pill that can cultivate divine force. It's only a blood origin supreme pill that can increase one's chi and blood. What a pity, what a pity. Although the old man in a purple robe's cultivation had fallen, he still had ambitions in his heart. He wanted to make up for his lifespan one day and cultivate divine force to reach the supreme being realm. Blood origin supreme pill. Nantian's sword was also a little disappointed. The blood origin supreme pill was the same as the pure yang supreme pill. They were the most common supreme pills. The blood origin supreme pill could strengthen one's chi and blood, while the pure yang supreme pill could be considered the strengthened version of the pure yang supreme pill. It was formed by supreme being experts extracting pure yang chi and fusing it with their own power of law. That's right. Although the blood origin supreme pill is precious, it's not difficult to obtain. This one is worth at least 200,000 pure yang pills. The old man in a purple robe said slowly. The great elder of the Precious Treasure Pavilion also took it and examined it. At last, he nodded his head and said, it's indeed the blood origin supreme pill. It's worth at least 200,000 pure yang pills. The other old monster's eyes were also filled with disappointment. Although the blood origin supreme pill was precious, it didn't have much use for them. These old monsters valued supreme treasures that could cultivate divine force and increase lifespan the most. These were all related to their ability to break through to the supreme being realm. Based on my calculations, these 3 treasures are worth at least 280,000 pure yang pills. Now, it's your turn. Nantian's sword looked at Ling Xiao and Daoist Wuliang with a mocking expression. That's right. It's your turn. Don't tell me you're scared. Ha ha ha. If you're afraid, then just admit defeat. The geniuses of the 5 Elements sect, the young demon king of the Golden Rhino clan, and many other young geniuses laughed and began to mock and ridicule. Afraid? I never knew how to write the word afraid. Today, I'll broaden your horizons. Daoist Wuliang sneered. He steeled his heart and decided to believe Ling Xiao this time. He began to cut the ancient stones. The stone cutter took the 2 ancient stones that Daoist Wuliang had chosen. Light flashed as he cut the stone, and the outer layer of the stone was removed. Gradually, the treasures within the ancient stones were revealed. Buzz! Dazzling rays of light filled the ancient stones. Faintly, golden lines could be seen spreading out. It was as if a precious ore was emerging. The treasures are out. This idiot can actually pick out the ancient stones that contain the treasures. Chapter 490. As the surface of the stone flew, a golden radiance flashed within the ancient stone. The radiance grew brighter and brighter until a piece of metal the size of a longan was revealed. It was flowing with golden radiance and was extremely gorgeous. On top of that piece of metal, there were mysterious laws intertwining. Streaks of blood were incomparably bright as if flames were about to fly out from it. This is the blazing phoenix gold. The great elder of Precious Treasure Pavilion's eyes flashed as he recognized the origin of this piece of metal. The blazing phoenix gold contains the imprint of the Great Path Law. It's a top-notch treasure for refining supreme weapons. However, it's a pity that there's only such a small piece. It can only be used to refine a top-notch Dao weapon. The great elder of Precious Treasure Pavilion revealed a tinge of regret in his eyes. The blazing phoenix gold was extremely precious. Legend had it that it was bathed in the divine blood of the phoenix. It was extremely mysterious. If it was used to refine a supreme weapon, it would be extremely powerful. That's right. It's indeed too small. However, such a small piece of blazing phoenix gold is worth 100,000 pure yang pills. Southern Sky Sword's granduncle also exclaimed in admiration. 100,000 pure yang pills. Southern Sky Sword was also shocked. He did not expect Daoist Wuliang to be so lucky. The value of a random ancient stone had increased by dozens of times. It was even more valuable than the 5-colored illusionary flower and green dawn copper combined. So what if it's worth 100,000 pure yang pills? Third young master, one of our supreme pills is enough to kill him instantly. The young genius of 5 elements sect sneered. The young monster king of Golden Rhino clan widened his eyes and said, "That's right. Third young master, there's definitely nothing in Big Fool's soul-breaking stone. As for Big Fool's remaining ancient stone, there's definitely nothing valuable in it." Daoist Wuliang sneered and ignored them. In fact, Ling Xiao could see that Daoist Wuliang was extremely nervous. After all, the pure yang pills were a small matter compared to his reputation. Although Daoist Wuliang's physiognomy was very strong and was known as the physiognomy of heaven and earth, Ling Xiao knew that Daoist Wuliang was not proficient in ancient stones. However, even Ling Xiao was surprised that Daoist Wuliang was able to obtain the blazing phoenix gold. Daoist Wuliang's standard was not to be underestimated. Everyone's gaze landed on the second ancient stone. At this moment, South Sky Sword no longer dared to underestimate Daoist Wuliang. Wang! In the hands of the stone cutter, the second stone was quickly cut out as well, revealing a strange red grass. It looked like a jade carving, translucent and flowing with a red glow. The grass had 6 leaves, and it exuded an aura of extreme yang. It's 6-sun grass. A king-grade spirit herb of the fire attribute was perfectly preserved. There was no loss of medicinal efficacy at all. Not bad, not bad. It's worth at least 100,000 pure yang pills. The great elder of the Precious Treasure Pavilion could not help but comment. He looked at Daoist Wuliang and Ling Xiao in surprise. The Nantian family was very proficient in ancient stones, and their purple aura psychic technique was even more famous. Therefore, he was not surprised that the Nantian sword could cut out a treasure. However, Ling Xiao and Daoist Wuliang were actually able to cut out 2 supreme treasures consecutively from 2 ancient stones, which shocked the great elder of the Precious Treasure Pavilion. Such a treasure could only be obtained in the heaven-grade stone garden. Today, supreme treasures had appeared one after another in the yellow stone garden, which made everyone excited. 6-sun grass. That idiot's luck is actually that good? The young demon king of the Golden Rhino clan widened his eyes, which were filled with disbelief. The Nantian sword was also shocked, but he heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. Even if the blazing phoenix gold and 6 sun grass were very precious, they were only comparable to the blood origin supreme elixir when added together. In the end, Ling Xiao still lost. Ha ha ha. If that's the case, I won't hold back. The blazing phoenix gold and 6 sun grass are not bad. I just happen to need these 2 treasures to increase my cultivation. The 2 of you should be fulfilling the bet now, right? The Nantian sword laughed, and his eyes were filled with pride. He reached out his hand to grab the 6 sun grass and blazing phoenix gold. Hold on. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed, and he immediately kept the blazing phoenix gold and 6 sun grass. He had a half-smile on his face. The Nantian sword's face instantly turned ugly. What? Are you going to go back on your word? When did I say I was going to go back on my word? We still have an ancient stone to cut out. How do you know you're going to win? Don't you have any shame? Ling Xiao smiled faintly, and his eyes were filled with mockery. You're talking about this breaking soul stone. Ha ha ha. The Nantian sword was stunned, and then he laughed out loud. Brat, I've never heard of treasures being able to be cut out from the breaking soul stone. Did you lose your mind after seeing that you lost? The young genius of the 5 elements sect laughed coldly and said, that's right. Kid, don't stall for time. A loss is a loss. You swore an oath to the heavenly Tao. If you dare to violate the terms of the bet, your cultivation will be crippled at best, and your soul will be scattered at worst. Think carefully. The first elder of the Precious Treasure Pavilion also knew about the bet between Ling Xiao and the Nantian sword. He shook his head and said, it's impossible to cut out treasures from the breaking soul stone. This was something that everyone in the stone gambling world knew. The breaking soul stone was a useless stone, and it was impossible to cut out treasures from it. The purple-robed elder from the Nantian family had an indifferent look in his eyes as he said, Jian, since he doesn't want to give up, then let him cut it. I want to see what kind of tricks he can come up with. The Nantian sword laughed coldly and said, all right. Kid, if you can cut out treasures from the breaking soul stone, I'll eat this breaking soul stone. Remember what you said. Ling Xiao smiled faintly and walked towards the black millstone. Little brother, are you really confident? Taoist Wuliang asked. Don't worry. They'll cry later. Ling Xiao gave Taoist Wuliang a reassuring look and prepared to cut the ancient stone himself. This kid is really a fool. He wants to cut the ancient stone himself. I think he's at his wit's end. That's right. Treasures can be cut out from the breaking soul stone. That's simply a fantasy. This kid dares to offend young Master Nantian. He's dead meat. Everyone looked at Ling Xiao as if they were watching a good show. They were all mocking and ridiculing him. No one was optimistic about Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao acted as if he did not hear them. He walked straight to the breaking soul stone and punched out. A blazing fist radiance exploded. Crack! The breaking soul stone instantly shattered into dozens of pieces. Everyone was dumbfounded. You can cut the stone like this? Which stonecutter wasn't careful, afraid of damaging the treasures inside? Ling Xiao was simply smashing a broken jar. The corner of Taoist Wuliang's eyes twitched. He felt that Ling Xiao was unreliable. Ling Xiao's expression was very calm. He picked up a piece of broken stone in the center as if there was no one around. It was the size of a fist and looked like a beehive. There were countless densely packed black spots. The reason why Ling Xiao dared to smash the breaking soul stone with one punch was that he had already checked that the real treasure was this small piece. The rest were indeed useless stones. Ling Xiao's palm emitted a golden light. The originally incomparably hard ancient stone turned into wisps of black powder in his hand and danced in the wind. Ling Xiao's expression also became solemn because he felt that the mysterious aura was getting stronger and stronger. Kid, don't play to the gallery. It's impossible to cut out treasures from the breaking soul stone. You'd better obediently fulfill the bet. The young geniuses of the Five Elements sect and the young demon king of the Golden Rhino clan were jeering and ridiculing. Their faces were full of ridicule. No. There's really something inside. The eyes of the Precious Treasure Pavilion's first elder flashed, revealing an incomparably shocked expression. He saw that as the stone's skin peeled off, there was actually something inside the breaking soul stone. What's that? Chapter 491. Inside the black break soul stone, there was a black light and a faint mist. Within it, there was a fingernail-sized cicada that was shining with golden light. It flapped its wings and was as thin as a veil. It was incomparably exquisite, as if it was carved out of jade. The golden cicada was very quiet. It lay in the break soul stone as if it was not fully awake yet. There was a mysterious fluctuation that looked incomparably mystical. What is this thing? A cicada? Everyone was stunned. Their eyes were filled with doubt as they could not recognize what treasure it was. Ha ha ha. A bug. A cicada was cut out of the break soul stone. How many pure yang pills is this cicada worth? Even if it is an ancient spiritual bug worth 10,000 pure yang pills, you will lose for sure. Southern Sky Sword was stunned. Then, he laughed out loud as his eyes were filled with mockery. Shut up. The first elder of the Precious Treasure Pavilion coldly shouted as he interrupted Southern Sky Sword. His eyes were filled with excitement. Even Southern Sky Sword's granduncle, the purple-robed old man, did not have any reaction. He stared at the cicada as if he had thought of something. Suddenly, his body trembled as his eyes were filled with excitement. Could this be the legendary longevity cicada? The purple-robed old man's body began to tremble. Bathed in golden light, containing Tao runes, eyes like the golden sun, the longevity cicada can only chirp 3 times. Each chirp can increase one's lifespan by 1,000 years. This is indeed the legendary longevity cicada. The first elder of the Precious Treasure Pavilion took a deep breath as his eyes were filled with shock. As soon as he finished speaking, the eyes of the surrounding old monsters turned red. If it was not for the first elder of the Precious Treasure Pavilion, they would have already snatched it. Increase one's lifespan by 1,000 years. If they could hear the longevity cicada chirp 3 times, wouldn't their lifespan increase by 3,000 years? For these old monsters who were nearing the end of their lifespan, this was an unimaginable treasure. It was not stingy to live another life. It was worth it for everyone to go crazy over. Ling Zhao's eyes also revealed a trace of surprise. He had heard of the longevity cicada before. It was an ancient species that was said to have gone extinct long ago. He did not expect to find a longevity cicada in the breaking soul stone. Taoist Wuliang looked at Ling Zhao as if he was looking at a monster. He felt that he could not see through this guy who called himself Long Outyan. Did he really feel that there was a treasure in this breaking soul stone, or did he just happen to find it? However, Taoist Wuliang's eyes lit up when he remembered that Ling Zhao still had 3 pieces of breaking soul stones. An investment of 30,000 pure yang pills. He was going to make a huge profit this time. Fortunately, Taoist Wuliang had an idea and chose half of the treasures in the breaking soul stone. Otherwise, he would have cried himself to death. Look at the longevity cicada's wings. Originally, it had 3 life wheels. Every time it chirped, 1 life wheel would disappear. Now, only 1 life wheel is left. It seems like it has chirped twice. The purple-robed elder's eyes flashed, revealing a trace of pity. Buzz! A purple jade box appeared in the hands of the great elder of the Precious Treasure Pavilion. It was made of purple chi stone and was incomparably precious. He solemnly placed the longevity cicada into the purple jade box and then closed it. Little brother, if you are willing to sell the longevity cicada to my Precious Treasure Pavilion, I am willing to pay 500,000 pure yang pills. The great elder of the precious treasure pavilion looked at Ling Xiao with a fervent look in his eyes. 500,000 pure yang pills. Nantian's sword and the young geniuses of the Five Elements sect were shocked. Their eyes revealed a look of disbelief. A mere spiritual insect could be sold for a sky-high price of 500,000 pure yang pills. One should know that the Blood Origin Supreme Elixir was only worth 200,000 pure yang pills. Little brother, my Nantian family is willing to pay 600,000 pure yang pills. If you sell it to me, you will be my Nantian family's VIP in the future. The purple-robed elder also had a fervent look on his face. His eyes were filled with determination. Among all the old monsters, the purple-robed elder desired the longevity cicada the most. He only had a dozen years left in his lifespan. If he could not obtain a supreme treasure to extend his lifespan, he would really be finished. Nantian Sword's face instantly darkened. Even his granduncle was willing to pay 600,000 pure yang pills. It seemed like he had really lost this competition. This brat must have gotten lucky. How could there be a supreme treasure like the longevity cicada in the Death Soul Stone? Nantian Sword gritted his teeth and said. He could not help but feel dizzy when he thought of his bet with Ling Xiao. 200,000 pure yang pills was not a big deal. He could still afford it. But kowtowing and apologizing, slapping himself in the face, and eating the Death Soul Stone. I will pay 700,000 pure yang pills. The great elder of the precious treasure pavilion was also determined to get it. Although he still had a long lifespan, it was too difficult to reach the supreme realm. With the longevity cicada, it was like a new life. Even for the precious treasure pavilion, it was extremely difficult to obtain a supreme treasure like the longevity cicada. In the entire War God continent, treasures that could extend one's lifespan were the most precious. It was enough to make everyone go crazy. I will pay 1 million pure yang pills. The purple-robed elder gritted his teeth and shouted out a sky-high price. Although the other old monsters were also envious, 1 million pure yang pills made them hesitate. This price was indeed a little too high. Sorry, I have no plans to sell the longevity cicada at the moment. Ling Xiao smiled faintly and directly rejected the bids of the precious treasure pavilion and the purple-robed elder. What? Everyone was a little surprised. This was 1 million pure yang pills. If Ling Xiao was willing to sell it, the price would be even higher. This brat actually gave up. Ling Xiao looked at Nantian's sword indifferently and said, Now, can you fulfill the bet? Nantian's sword and the others looked as if they had eaten a dead child. Their faces were incomparably ugly. A single longevity cicada suppressed everyone. It almost made Nantian's sword experience great joy and great sorrow. His eyes were filled with incomparable grief and indignation. Until now, he still couldn't figure out how such a supreme treasure like the longevity cicada could be in the soul-breaking stone. Long Out Yen, here are 250,000 pure yang pills and the 3 supreme treasures that I cut out. Nantian's sword endured the pain and took out 250,000 pure yang pills. At the same time, he also gave the 5-colored illusionary flower, green cloud copper, and blood origin supreme pill to Ling Xiao. So many treasures were given to Ling Xiao. It made his heart bleed. Although he was the 3rd young master of Nantian's sword, so many treasures were hard to come by for him. He didn't expect to lose all of them to Ling Xiao. The young geniuses of the 5 Elements sect, the young archfiend king of the Golden Rhino race, and those who participated in the stone gambling with Ling Xiao, all of them had long faces. They finally understood what it meant to go for wool and come home shorn. Ling Xiao took the pure yang pills and the 3 supreme treasures and said with a faint smile, Nantian's sword, you can't have forgotten that our bet isn't just this, right? Do you need me to remind you? Nantian's sword's face twitched and revealed an incomparable grief and indignation. Long Out Yen, don't go too far. I'm going too far. Nantian's sword. You're the one who suggested the stone gambling, right? You're also the one who suggested the bet, right? Why didn't you think of this moment when you were being overbearing? However, you've already made a heavenly oath. If you don't fulfill the bet, don't blame me when you're punished by the heavenly Tao. Ling Xiao said indifferently, his eyes were filled with coldness. Ling Xiao believed that if he were to lose, the Southern Sky Sword would only go from bad to worse than it was now. Young man, don't you think you're going a little too far? Even if Jian made a heavenly oath, as long as you agree to exempt him from the bet, you'll naturally remove the restriction of the heavenly oath. The purple-robed old man frowned slightly and revealed a trace of coldness in his eyes. Chapter 492. The purple-robed elder was already dissatisfied with Ling Xiao's unwillingness to take the longevity cicada. Now that he saw Ling Xiao asking Nantian's sword to fulfill the bet, he was even more furious. The Nantian family was a famous family in the War God continent. They were on par with the martial Saint Lands and were extremely powerful. As the third young master of the Nantian family, if Nantian's sword really kowtowed and apologized to Ling Xiao, the entire Nantian family would become a laughingstock. What a joke! Why should I agree to waive his bet? Ling Xiao sneered and said, if Nantian's sword wins the stone bet, do you think he'll be so kind as to waive my bet? Then what do you want? Young man, don't be too impulsive. Leave a bottom line for the future. You must know that there are some people that you can't afford to offend. The purple-robed elder said coldly with a hint of threat in his voice. Threatening us? Ha ha ha. This Taoist isn't afraid of threats. Old thing, you don't know your place and take advantage of your seniority. If the Nantian family is filled with people like you, I'm afraid they'll fall sooner or later. Taoist Wu-yang sneered. You're courting death. The purple-robed elder's face turned cold as killing intent flashed in his eyes. His body exuded a powerful aura, and there was a hint of madness in his eyes. If he killed Ling Xiao and Taoist Wu-yang and snatched the longevity cicada, the Nantian family should be able to cover it up with their strength. Old thing, come, come. This Taoist will fight with you for 300 rounds. Since you're tired of living, this Taoist will send you on your way. Taoist Wu-yang revealed a mouthful of white teeth as he smiled faintly. A mysterious and ancient light shot out from his eyes, causing the purple-robed elder to tremble. Presumptuous. The great elder of the precious treasure pavilion growled as a vast and terrifying aura spread out, causing everyone to tremble. This was a half-step supreme being. If this great elder was angered, even the Nantian family would be in trouble. Little brother, how about this? Nantian's sword lost the bet, so he should fulfill his end of the bet. However, for this old man's sake, let him pay some pure yang pills and waive his bet. What do you think? The great elder of the precious treasure pavilion said gently, as if he was negotiating. Before Ling Xiao could speak, Taoist Wu-yang sneered and said, sure, take out 10 million pure yang pills, and we can consider waiving his bet. 10 million pure yang pills. You really dare to demand an exorbitant price? The purple-robed elder's voice was extremely cold as he gritted his teeth and said. 10 million pure yang pills was enough to buy a supreme artifact of slightly lower quality. It wasn't that the Nantian family couldn't take out such a huge sum of money, it was just that they weren't willing to be cheated like this. 10 million pure yang pills is too expensive. Is the Nantian family's reputation not worth 10 million pure yang pills? Taoist Wu-yang sneered. Southern Sky Sword's face was ashen. He hated Ling Xiao and Taoist Wu-yang to the core. He suddenly walked out and knelt down in front of Ling Xiao. Long out Yen, I was wrong. Southern Sky Sword abruptly kowtowed, and then slapped Southern Sky Sword fiercely. Its eyes were filled with hatred and killing intent as it looked at Ling Xiao. And those soul-breaking stones. Taoist Wu-yang was also stunned. He didn't expect this brat to be so ruthless. However, he didn't plan to let Southern Sky Sword off so easily. Southern Sky Sword didn't say a word. He picked up the soul-breaking stones and chewed them in big mouthfuls. The hard stones caused his mouth to be filled with bloody foam. The sound of crunching made everyone who heard it feel their hair stand on end. It was as if Southern Sky Sword wasn't eating the soul-breaking stones, but the flesh and blood of Ling Xiao and Daoist Wuyang. Very well, you can scram now. Ling Xiao smiled faintly as if he didn't see the gloomy killing intent in the eyes of the Nantian family. Long Outyin and Daoist Wuyang. I'll remember you. Brat, it's a small world. Be careful that you don't die an unnatural death for being so arrogant. The purple-robed elder's eyes were extremely cold. He knew that from today onwards, the Nantian family would become a laughingstock. What happened here would probably spread across the entire Heavenly God City very quickly. The purple-robed elder even wanted to kill Southern Sky Sword. However, the people he hated the most right now were Ling Xiao and Daoist Wuyang. The killing intent in his heart was almost tangible. Old thing, you only have a dozen years of lifespan left. Be careful that you don't die of old age. Daoist Wuyang also replied, not to be outdone. Let's go. The purple-robed elder's eyes were extremely cold. He gave Ling Xiao and Daoist Wuyang a deep look, then hurriedly left with Nangong Jian. These two fellows have offended the Nantian family to the core. That's right. Although killing is prohibited in Heavenly God City, they can't stay in Heavenly God City forever. In the end, they're still young and hot-headed. They're dead for sure. The crowd discussed animatedly. They looked at Ling Xiao and Daoist Wuyang with eyes full of sympathy. Two little friends, the Heavenly God Assembly is in 3 days. Before the Heavenly God Assembly, my precious treasure pavilion will hold an auction. If the longevity cicada is auctioned, it will definitely fetch a high price. Are the two of you willing to hand the longevity cicada over to my precious treasure pavilion to auction? The precious treasures pavilion's great elder chuckled. He could tell that Ling Xiao was unwilling to sell the longevity cicada. Firstly, he didn't want to sell it to the Nantian family. Secondly, he wanted to sell it for a higher price. He didn't even care about 1,000,000 pure yang pills. The Precious Treasures Pavilion was even more curious about Ling Xiao's origins. Could Long Outyin be from the Eastern Sea? The Precious Treasures Pavilion's great elder's heart trembled slightly as he made some guesses. Many thanks, great elder. Let's auction these 3 treasures in the Precious Treasures Pavilion. Ling Xiao smiled. Aside from the Blood Origin Supreme Pill, he planned to give the Precious Treasures Pavilion the 5-colored illusionary flower, Azure Copper, and Longevity Cicada to be auctioned off. The Longevity Cicada was very precious in the eyes of others, but it was nothing to Ling Xiao. After all, he still had a dozen or so longevity fruits. The effect of the longevity fruit was not inferior to the Longevity Cicada, and even surpassed it in some aspects. Little friend, don't worry. These 3 treasures will definitely be auctioned for a high price. Little friend, this yellow grade stone garden is only considered ordinary. The Heaven grade stone garden has quite a few precious ancient stones. Little friend, do you want to go take a look at the Heaven grade stone garden? The Precious Treasures Pavilion's great elder's eyes flashed. He wanted to test whether Ling Xiao and Daoist Wuyang were truly proficient in ancient stone arts, or if they were lucky today and just happened to run into these treasures. Forget it for today. Great elder, this brat has something to ask you. Ling Xiao said with a smile. This was the great elder of the Precious Treasures Pavilion, a peerless half-step supreme. He should be able to inquire about the whereabouts of Old Goat and the others. Oh. Little friend, what's the matter? The great elder of the Precious Treasures Pavilion smiled. At this moment, the yellow grade stone garden became somewhat restless. A wave of exclamations came from outside, and a faint fragrance drifted over. The Holy Maiden of the Moon Palace is here. The second prince is actually accompanying her personally. I wonder what kind of peerless beauty this Holy Maiden of the Moon Palace is. Chapter 493. The Saintess of the Moon Palace wore a long white robe and was enveloped in the moonlight. Her figure was graceful, and her skin was as white as jade. Her temperament was extraordinary. Her face was covered by a thin veil, and her face couldn't be seen clearly. However, her eyes were brighter than the stars. She walked slowly in the moonlight, and her black hair was like a waterfall. Her holy and cold temperament made people feel ashamed of their inferiority. The second prince, who was standing beside her, was tall and strong. He walked with a majestic gait and wore a green dragon robe. He looked very handsome and had a gentle smile on his face. As he walked, he chatted with the saintess of the Moon Palace. They looked like a perfect couple. The most important thing was that there was a black goat following behind them. It looked as strong as a calf, and its face was full of smiles. Its eyes were rolling around as it looked at the ancient stones in the surroundings, and its eyes were shining. No matter how one looked at it, this combination was a little strange. When Ling Xiao saw the saintess of the Moon Palace and the old goat, he was stunned. The old goat was also stunned. Roar! The old goat roared and immediately pounced on Ling Xiao. Its face was full of excitement and excitement. Ling Xiao. The moon god's eyes flashed, and she was surprised. The saintess of the Moon Palace was the moon god. Previously, the moon god and the second prince heard that someone had obtained the longevity cicada in the Yellowstone garden. They wanted to take a look, but they didn't expect to meet Ling Xiao. If you dare to carry us behind your back again, I'll bite you to death. The old goat kicked Ling Xiao's chest, and his eyes were a little red as he laughed. In the reincarnation ocean, Ling Xiao fell into the reincarnation ocean to save Shui Wei and the others. This made the old goat and the others very worried. If the old goat didn't have great confidence in Ling Xiao, they would have thought that Ling Xiao died in the reincarnation ocean. Long time no see. You're fine. That's great. The moon god walked over with a smile in her beautiful eyes. It was as if her peerless beauty had bloomed, and the world suddenly lost its color. Everyone couldn't help but be dazzled. I'm fine. But I didn't expect you to become the saintess of the Moon Palace. Ling Xiao said with a smile. The moon god had the moon saint body, and she had inherited the lunisolar scripture. The Moon Palace naturally wouldn't let go of such a peerless talent. Ling Xiao guessed that there must be many opportunities that he didn't know about. Seeing the moon god and Ling Xiao talking and laughing, the second prince's eyes revealed a trace of darkness. However, he immediately concealed it perfectly. He walked over with a faint smile and asked, Yueshan, can you introduce this brother to me? Moon goddess said, Second prince, his name is Ling Xiao. He is a good friend of mine. Clearly, the name Ling Xiao touched him greatly. What treasure did you get? Take it out and show it to me. The old goat's eyes lit up and were filled with excitement. Look at you. Do you want this blood origin supreme elixir or not? Ling Xiao smiled and the blood origin supreme elixir appeared in his hand. The old goat's eyes immediately turned red, and he suddenly pounced forward, quickly give it to me, this emperor and this pill are fated, this supreme pill is this emperor's, whoever dares to snatch it from this emperor will kill him. The blood origin supreme elixir contained a powerful blood qi. It also contained a mysterious supreme law. It was very beneficial to the old goat's Tao injury. That was why Ling Xiao kept the blood origin supreme elixir. No one is snatching it from you. Take it. Ling Xiao smiled and threw the blood origin supreme elixir to the old goat. You're the best. The old goat beamed and caught the blood origin supreme elixir as if it was a treasure. The blood origin supreme elixir disappeared in a flash. No one knew where the old goat hid it. Everyone was dumbfounded. That was the blood origin supreme elixir. It was worth at least 200,000 pure yang pills. Ling Xiao just threw it to the old goat. Or Ling Xiao's spirit pet. Wasn't being treated too well to be Ling Xiao's spirit pet. The eyes of many young geniuses turned red. Ling Xiao, that's the blood origin supreme elixir. How could you just throw it to a spirit pet? If you don't want it, you can give it to me. Why does this old goat look so familiar? He looks like that old bastard, Taoist Wuliang said with a pained expression. However, he looked at the old goat suspiciously. He felt that this wretched old goat was familiar. You're the spirit pet. Your whole family are spirit pets. Ox-nosed old Taoist, how dare you look down on me? I'll bite you to death. The old goat was enraged. His eyes were filled with hostility. He bared his white teeth and pounced on Taoist Wuliang. It hurts. Damn goat, get out of my way. Are you a dog? Why do you like to bite people? Taoist Wuliang screamed. The old goat's teeth were too sharp. They were comparable to a peerless Tao artifact. When they bit Taoist Wuliang's arm, the excruciating pain made Taoist Wuliang scream in anger. Seeing Ling Xiao throw the blood origin supreme elixir to the old goat, the second prince's mouth twitched. He knew that the old goat had an extraordinary background. However, he was just a spirit pet. Wasn't Ling Xiao spending too much to please the moon goddess? The second prince looked at Ling Xiao and smiled. Brother Ling, which saint land are you from? How do you know the moon goddess? Although the second prince was smiling, Ling Xiao felt that he didn't mean what he said. The second prince in front of him gave him a feeling of hypocrisy. There was even a hint of hostility. I don't belong to any sect. I'm just a rogue cultivator. As for how I know the moon goddess. Ling Xiao looked at the moon goddess and walked forward. He hugged the moon goddess's waist and said, the moon goddess and I are childhood sweethearts. We were betrothed when we were young. Of course, we're very familiar with each other. Ling Xiao clearly saw that the second prince's face froze. There was a hint of anger in his eyes. The moon goddess was also shocked by Ling Xiao's sudden action. Faint moonlight burst out from her body. She broke free from Ling Xiao's arms. There was a hint of embarrassment and anger in her eyes. However, she remained silent and didn't explain. Cough cough. Brother Ling, you must be joking. The moon goddess is the saint of the moon palace. How could she have been betrothed when she was young? The second prince coughed dryly, and his voice turned cold. The old goat popped out of nowhere and chuckled. What are you joking about? The moon goddess is indeed Ling Xiao's wife. I say, second prince, don't be wishful thinking. You and the moon goddess are not fated to be together. Taoist Wuliang tilted his head and looked at the moon goddess. His eyes were filled with infatuation. He said regretfully, how could such a beautiful saint be snatched by brother Ling Xiao first? I'm so elegant and unrestrained. I'm the best candidate for the moon goddess's Tao partner. The corner of the moon goddess's mouth twitched slightly. Her white forehead was full of black lines. She wished she could strangle the old goat and Taoist Wuliang to death. Chapter 494. The second prince could no longer maintain his gentle demeanor. His face instantly turned green. The moon goddess resisted the urge to strangle the old goat and Taoist Wuliang to death. She smiled calmly at the second prince and said, Your Highness, Ling Xiao and I still have some matters to discuss. We'll take our leave first. Please do as you wish. Moon goddess knew that Ling Xiao had a lot of questions. Coincidentally, she didn't like the second prince either. She found an excuse and left the precious treasure pavilion with Ling Xiao. Seeing the moon goddess and Ling Xiao leave, a sliver of coldness appeared in the second prince's eyes. He said, Investigate. Investigate who this Ling Xiao is. He offended the Nantian family and didn't even put me in his eyes. This brat deserves to die. Yes. A mysterious black-clothed person appeared behind the second prince. Like a ghost, he cupped his hands at the second prince and disappeared into the void. Supreme Tower was one of the largest restaurants in Heavenly God City. Supreme Tower occupied a vast area. It was a huge palace that rose from the ground. It was hundreds of feet tall and could overlook Heavenly God City. Behind it was a lake and forest. It was very peaceful. After Ling Xiao and the moon goddess left the precious treasure pavilion, the old goat led them to the Supreme Tower. Ling Xiao, Supreme Tower's 9-5 Supreme Wine is the best in the world. There are also all kinds of delicacies made from demon beasts. You must try them. When it came to the delicacies of Precious Treasure Pavilion, Old Goat was like a landlord who knew everything. His eyes were full of pride. He had followed Moon Goddess to Heavenly God's City a long time ago and had almost visited all the good places in Heavenly God's City. They sat down in a quiet room. Only Ling Xiao, Moon Goddess, Old Goat, and Taoist Wuliang were left. A light flashed in Ling Xiao's hand, and a barrier flew out, enveloping the private room. Hurry up and tell me. What happened in the reincarnation ocean? And where are Phoenix Maiden, Shui Wei, and Long Outyan? Ling Xiao's eyes were full of anticipation. Old Goat glanced at Taoist Wuliang. Ling Xiao, who is this stinking Taoist? Why do I feel that he's not reliable at all? Why don't we kick him out? Taoist Wuliang immediately glared at Old Goat and said, Ling Xiao and I have been through life and death together. Who do you think you are? How dare you point fingers at me? In his previous life, the Old Goat and Taoist Wuliang liked to fight each other. Now that 10,000 years had passed, the two of them still did not change. Ling Xiao immediately felt a headache coming on. He hurriedly sent a voice transmission to the Old Goat. He's Wu Yang, the old bastard who impregnated countless saintesses 10,000 years ago. What? It's you. The Old Goat immediately jumped up. His hair stood on end as he looked at Taoist Wuliang in shock. The Old Goat had sensed that Taoist Wuliang was very familiar since a long time ago. However, Taoist Wuliang's aura had changed greatly after reincarnating, and his cultivation was only at the monarch realm. He was far from being at the peak of his previous life, so the Old Goat didn't come out. Hearing Ling Xiao's words, the Old Goat immediately exploded. What? Do you know me? Taoist Wuliang was confused. He didn't recognize the Old Goat either, but he felt that the Old Goat was very familiar. Ha ha ha. I don't know you. Who would know an old bastard like you? The Old Goat laughed and sat down again. He grabbed a transparent glass and took a sip. His face was full of pride. The moon god's eyes flashed. She was also curious about the Old Goat's reaction, but she was smart enough not to ask. Instead, she answered Ling Xiao's question. It turned out that when Ling Xiao fell into the reincarnation ocean, the master of the lunar palace, the lunar sovereign, was passing by and had an intense battle with the reincarnation beast. That battle was devastating. The reincarnation beast was extremely terrifying. In the end, even the lunar sovereign was heavily injured before the reincarnation beast was forced to retreat. When the lunar sovereign discovered the moon god's lunar body, he was extremely excited and saved the moon god and the others. He even took the moon god as his last disciple and made her the saintess of the lunar palace. The lunar sovereign didn't hesitate to use the lunar divine power to imbue the moon god's body. He also let the moon god inherit the lunar scripture. Her cultivation broke through to the noble realm. Now, she even cultivated many powerful superpowers of the lunar palace. She emitted an aura that made Ling Xiao feel dangerous. Where is Shui Wei? Ling Xiao asked quickly. The moon god and the Old Goat's expressions changed at the mention of Shui Wei. Shui Wei was taken away by the reincarnation beast. What? Ling Xiao's expression immediately changed, and a trace of coldness appeared in his eyes. The moon god sighed and said, Ling Xiao, the master said that Shui Wei has an aura that doesn't belong to this world. The reincarnation beast rarely attacks the adventure ship. The reason it attacked us is probably because of Shui Wei. Although the master fought with the reincarnation beast, Shui Wei was still captured by the reincarnation beast. Captured by the reincarnation beast? Ling Xiao's eyes flickered with a divine light, full of worry. He suddenly remembered that it was Shui Wei who discovered the 81 ancient words on the underworld ship. After that, the underworld ship stopped and the reincarnation beast appeared. All of this was too much of a coincidence. Perhaps it was because of Shui Wei that the reincarnation sea became so strange. So many inexplicable things happened on the underworld ship. The master said that the reincarnation sea is very mysterious. It seems to be connected to another great world. Shui Wei's identity is very mysterious. Since the reincarnation beast came out personally, there shouldn't be any danger to her life. So, you don't have to worry too much. The moon god looked at Ling Xiao and said slowly. Ling Xiao smiled bitterly and nodded. He had obtained Pan Gu's reincarnation ability and already knew that the reincarnation sea was the passage between the war god Great World and the reincarnation Great World. The reincarnation sea was the condensation of the reincarnation Great World's reincarnation power. It was very likely that it was the passage to the reincarnation Great World. However, Ling Xiao's current strength was too weak. Once he recovered the cultivation of his previous life, Ling Xiao decided to explore the reincarnation sea. Even if he had to overturn the reincarnation Great World, he had to find Shui Wei. What about the Phoenix Girl and Long Outyan? Ling Xiao suppressed the worry in his heart and continued to ask. The Master of the Moon Temple and the Master of the Mountain of Flames are good friends. The Master of the Mountain of Flames recognized the Phoenix Girl's dark phoenix body and brought her back to the Mountain of Flames. As for Long Outyan, the Master of the Mountain of Flames seemed to be very familiar with Long Outyan's elders and brought him back. Although Long Outyan was unwilling, he couldn't fight against the Master of the Mountain of Flames. The moon god smiled. It turned out that the Phoenix Girl and Long Outyan had their own encounters. Chapter 495. Ling Xiao was furious. The Phoenix Girl was a maid that he had painstakingly taken in, but she was snatched away by the Lord of Blazing Mountain. This made him extremely depressed. The Blazing Mountain was a martial holy land that was not inferior to the Moon Palace. It was also the ancestral land of the flying beasts. It was said that the Lord of Blazing Mountain was a flaming phoenix. The Phoenix Girl could be considered to have returned to the Phoenix clan. Once she learned the Phoenix clan's secret technique, having a saintess as her maid would definitely be a great thing. As for Long Outyan, the Dragon clan and the Phoenix clan had a close relationship. This should be the reason why the Lord of Blazing Mountain took Long Outyan away. After all, Long Outyan had run away from home. The East Ocean Crystal Palace would probably be in an uproar. The moon goddess said faintly, Long Outyan asked me to tell you to head to the East Ocean as soon as possible. There was a trace of curiosity in her eyes. The more she understood, the more she felt that Ling Xiao was mysterious. He was actually related to the East Ocean Crystal Palace. Who exactly was this young man? Ling Xiao, don't worry. Shui Wei will definitely be fine. When we are stronger, we will go to the reincarnation ocean and teach that reincarnation beast a lesson. If it wasn't for my injuries, I would have definitely beaten that bastard up. The old goat said gloomily. Obviously, he was still brooding over being chased by the reincarnation beast like a stray dog. Ling Xiao, how did you escape from the reincarnation ocean? The moon goddess asked curiously. The reincarnation energy in the reincarnation ocean was chaotic and terrifying. Sovereigns would definitely die if they entered, and even sovereigns would not dare to touch it. However, Ling Xiao was still alive and kicking, without any injuries. I had a narrow escape in the reincarnation ocean. Fortunately, I met a sovereign from the Shura sect. That was how I managed to escape and reach the war god continent. Ling Xiao explained slowly. The matter of Pangu Chu was very important, so Ling Xiao did not say it out loud. Instead, he found an excuse. He explained how he arrived at the war god continent, how he saved Lu Wan, how he became enemies with the Star Palace, and what happened after that. However, Ling Xiao omitted the Bronze Divine Palace and the five-colored Sacred Mountain. Ling Xiao, you just arrived at the War God continent and you already killed 2 half-step sovereigns? The old goat's eyes widened. His eyes were filled with amazement. I didn't do it, but it does have something to do with me. Ling Xiao laughed bitterly. Moon God, Old Goat, and the others were all shocked. They didn't expect Ling Xiao to cause such a huge commotion as soon as he arrived at the War God continent. Although the Lu family in Stellar Sky City could not be compared to those ancient clans, they were still a famous family. Not only did their old ancestor die in the hands of Ling Xiao, but they were also almost wiped out by Ling Xiao. The Lu clan is indeed despicable. The disciples of Lu Guqin, the Heavenly Star Supremacy, are actually a bunch of shameless bastards. And Star Palace, bullying others with their power. What the hell was that? I heard that the disciples of Star Palace have also arrived at Heavenly God City. When the time comes, let's kill a few stars from Star Palace for fun. The old goat said with righteous indignation, as if he wanted to see the world plunged into chaos. Don't make a fuss. The holy land of martial Tao is not something you can imagine. The terror of a supreme being far surpasses that of a half-step supreme being. Moon God glared at Old Goat and said with a tinge of worry in her eyes. I can go back and ask Master to see if he can resolve the grudge between you and Star Palace. The death of a half-step supreme being elder is definitely not a small matter. It might even alarm a supreme being. Even with Moon God's calm state of mind, her face was grave when she mentioned supreme being. So what if he's a supreme being? There are so many holy lands of martial Tao in the War God continent. If they force us to submit to the War God Temple, with Ling Xiao's and my peerless talents, the War God Temple will definitely beg us to join them. Why should we be afraid of a mere Star Palace? The old goat sneered. Although Ling Xiao had not been in the War God continent for long, he already knew all the top forces in the continent. There were not many changes compared to 10,000 years ago. The holy lands of martial Tao in the War God continent could be summarized as 1 hall, 2 temples, 3 mountains, 4 kingdoms, 5 pavilions, 6 palaces, 7 sects. There were also the legendary 8 forbidden. The so-called First Temple referred to the War God Temple. The War God Temple was the strongest, most mysterious, most terrifying, and most ancient force in the War God continent. The Second Temple referred to the Tempest Temple and Ming Wang Temple. They were the holy lands of Buddhism. The 3 mountains referred to the Kunlun Mountain, Emperor Tomb Mountain, and Blazing Mountain. The 4 kingdoms referred to the ancient kingdom of Azure Dragon, ancient kingdom of White Tiger, ancient kingdom of Phoenix, and ancient kingdom of Black Tortoise. The 5 pavilions referred to the Sword God Pavilion, Mad Blade Pavilion, Underworld Pavilion, Heavenly Court Pavilion, and Precious Treasure Pavilion. The 6 palaces referred to the Crystal Palace, Purple Cloud Palace, Sun Palace, Moon Palace, Star Palace, and Sky Demon Palace. The 7 sects referred to the Black Heaven Sect, Azura Sect, Walkabout Sect, Limitless Demon Sect, 7 Emotions and 6 Desires Demon Sect, Abyss Demon Sect, and Netherworld Sect. The 8 Forbidden Grounds referred to the 8 Forbidden Grounds. They were forbidden grounds for life. Even Supreme Being experts were wary of them. They were Time Cave, God Burial Cave, Universe River, Heavenly Devil Ancient Land, Thousand Coffin Mountain, Holy Ground, Primitive Ancient Mine, and Reincarnation Sea. The 1 temple, 2 temples, 3 mountains, 4 kingdoms, 5 pavilions, 6 palaces, and 7 sects were the oldest holy lands in the War God continent. Each holy land of martial Tao had more than one supreme being. Of course, other than these, there were many hidden ancient clans and sections. Some of them were not weaker than these holy lands of martial Tao. It was just that they kept a low profile and did not have much fame. Of course, 10,000 years ago, it should be called 1 temple, 2 temples, 3 mountains, 4 kingdoms, 5 pavilions, 6 palaces, and 7 sects. The world revered the Longevity Sect. 10,000 years ago, the Longevity Sect was the #1 holy land of martial Tao. However, the Longevity Sect was like a flash in the pan and disappeared very quickly. Today, the most powerful force on the War God continent was still the War God Temple. Ling Xiao knew how terrifying the War God Temple was. In his previous life, even when the longevity sect was at its peak, Ling Xiao did not know the true strength of the War God Temple. War God Temple. I heard that the War God Temple hasn't had a successor for 1,000 years. This holy land is the most mysterious. No one even knows where their mountain gate is. Taoist Wu Yang, who had been observing Ling Xiao and the old goat, could not help but chuckle. There was a cold gleam in his eyes. The War God Temple is still too far away. However, if we offend the Star Palace, so be it. Do they really think that we are afraid of them? Ling Xiao smiled faintly and there was a tinge of confidence in his eyes. That's right. I heard that the seniors of the Star Palace are buried in a star land. When I find out, I will dig up their ancestral graves. I believe I will be able to find a lot of treasures. The old goat said with a sneaky smile. You are, Taoist Wu Yang suddenly trembled. He could not help but widen his eyes. His finger that was pointing at the old goat was trembling and his eyes were filled with excitement. Greedy and lecherous old bastard. You don't even recognize me. Are you blind? The old goat laughed. Although he was scolding, his eyes were filled with excitement. He knew that Taoist Wu Yang recognized him. Rumble. Just when Ling Xiao thought that the old goat and Taoist Wu Yang were going to hug each other and cry, the door of the room was suddenly kicked open by a huge force. Who is Ling Xiao? Get out here. Chapter 496. People from Star Palace. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he saw the group of young geniuses in the room. They were wearing star robes and there were both males and females. The males were handsome while the females were beautiful. All of their faces were filled with arrogance. Especially the leader of the group, a young man in a black robe. He had silver hair and a handsome figure. He looked indifferent and there seemed to be silver light shooting out from his eyes. He stood there as if there were countless stars revolving around him. The light was blazing and he gave out a cold and dark evil aura. The cultivation of the young man in a black robe was at the peak of level 9 noble realm. However, Ling Xiao could feel that he was suppressing his cultivation intentionally. He must have cultivated many earth-shattering superpowers. Ling Xiao felt that he was extremely dangerous, even more so than an ordinary expert of the imperial path. Ling Xiao, are you the one who killed junior brother Chen and the other two? Kneel down and accept your death. The one who spoke was a cold and arrogant young man. His gaze was extremely cold and he recognized Ling Xiao at first glance. He ordered Ling Xiao to kneel down and admit his guilt. The old goat and Taoist Wu Yang had a strange look in their eyes. Just as they were talking about Star Palace, the people from Star Palace came. Wasn't this a little too timely? Who are you? I don't know junior brother Chen or junior brother Wang. If you don't want to die, get out. Ling Xiao smiled indifferently and there was a glint of sharpness in his eyes. He didn't even stand up. The wine in the wine cup didn't even sway. Ling Xiao didn't even look at the people from Star Palace. He lifted the wine cup and took a sip. Such disregard, such arrogance, instantly caused everyone from Star Palace to reveal an extremely furious expression. The disciples from Star Palace were the center of attention wherever they went. Which of the disciples from the aristocratic families and sects didn't serve them carefully? They had long cultivated an arrogant bearing. At that moment, they were disregarded by Ling Xiao and they instantly felt extremely humiliated. You're courting death. The cold and arrogant young man's gaze turned cold. Although he knew that Ling Xiao wasn't simple, he looked like he was only at level 1 noble realm. He was 2 or 3 levels lower than him. The cold and arrogant young man suddenly shot out a ray of starlight from his fingertip. He wanted to pierce the wine cup in Ling Xiao's hand and make him suffer. Whoosh! The starlight was like a sword, containing an unparalleled sharpness. When the arrogant young man attacked with all his strength, there was a bit of a shocking atmosphere. A cold light flashed through Ling Xiao's eyes. The wine cup in his hand turned into a streak of light as it flew out. It contained an unparalleled force, shattering the streak of starlight before viciously slamming it into the arrogant young man's face. "Pa!" The cold and arrogant young man spat out a mouthful of blood. Half of his face instantly swelled up. Ling Xiao's attack was as fast as lightning, and he was very close to the arrogant youth. Even the black-robed youth did not have time to react before the arrogant youth was sent flying. "What?" Everyone from Star Palace was shocked and they revealed a look of shock and anger. "Too arrogant. Ling Xiao, you deserve to die. Senior brother Tan Lang, kill this bastard." The disciples of Star Palace spoke one after another. Their voices were cold and they were filled with anger and murderous intention. "Ling Xiao, you're only at LV1 of the noble realm, but you were able to kill junior brother Chen and the other two. You do have something to be proud of. However, in front of Star Palace, you're just an ant that can be crushed to death anytime." The black-robed youth, who was Tan Lang's star son, walked out. He gave out a cold and powerful aura. His eyes seemed to be blazing with a silver light that shot towards Ling Xiao. "I've said that I don't know junior brother Chen or junior brother Wang from Star Palace. I'm afraid you've got the wrong person. If you continue to pester me, don't blame me for being rude." Ling Xiao's eyes revealed a cold light as he spoke faintly. He Qingji from Star Palace had died in the Divine Bronze Palace and there was no trace left behind. The three disciples from Star Palace had also been burned into ashes by Ling Xiao's devouring heaven fire. Star Palace couldn't find any evidence at all. Hence, Ling Xiao would never admit that he had killed anyone from Star Palace. Just as Ling Xiao was confronting Tan Lang and the others, at the top of the Supreme Tower, the second prince was looking at a display stone in front of him. It displayed the situation in Ling Xiao's room and his eyes were filled with a cold smile. "Your Highness, we've told Tan Lang about Ling Xiao. If there were casualties in their battle, would His Majesty blame Your Highness?" Behind the second prince, a fat man in a shopkeeper's uniform said carefully as he wiped the sweat off his forehead. The Supreme Tower was the property of the royal family of the ancient kingdom of Dragon. This fatty was the shopkeeper of the Supreme Tower. Although he was displeased with the second prince for causing the conflict between Ling Xiao and Tan Lang, he did not dare to voice it out. "Don't worry. I've already sent Ninth Sister away. His green dragon guards won't come here. As long as Tan Lang doesn't make too much noise, he won't attract attention." The second prince laughed coldly and said, "Ling Xiao can only blame himself. After offending Star Palace, he even dared to offend me. He deserved to die. He's merely in level 1 noble realm. If Tan Lang wants to take him down, it'll be a piece of cake. I hope so." The fat shopkeeper laughed bitterly. If there was really a big mess in the Supreme Tower, the second prince would definitely be fine. He was afraid that he would become the scapegoat. He also hoped that Tan Lang could take Ling Xiao down quickly. It would be best if he did not alarm the other guests. In the private room, Tan Lang stared at Ling Xiao intently. His eyes were blazing and extremely aggressive. He said coldly, "Ling Xiao, you know very well whether you killed anyone or not. Even if you didn't kill anyone, if I say you killed someone, you killed someone. Are you going to surrender or are you waiting for me to take action?" Tan Lang's words were domineering and decisive. He was indifferent to life as if it was nothing. A strong aura spread from his body and he wanted to take action against Ling Xiao. Star Palace is really domineering. In Heavenly God City, do you really dare to take action? Ling Xiao laughed coldly. His eyes were filled with fighting spirit. As one of the 5 stars of Star Palace, Tan Lang's starchild was said to have Tan Lang's life horoscope. He could summon the divine power of Tan Lang's star and was extremely strong. Ling Xiao wanted to see how strong such an opponent was. "Don't worry. 3 moves are enough to take you down. Tan Lang took a step forward. His body was filled with boundless star power, causing the surrounding void to tremble. A suffocating pressure descended and even Yueshin's expression changed slightly. Tan Lang lived up to his name as one of the 5 stars of Star Palace. If Tan Lang wanted to, he would have broken through to the monarch realm long ago. 3 moves. You people from Star Palace are really arrogant. Come on, I'll give you 3 moves. If I don't beat you into a pig's head today, I'll write my name backwards. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.